Welcome back, traveler. Before we begin tonight's story, I'd love to know where you're listening from. Tell me in the comments, your country, your city, and what time it is right now. Are you lying beneath a midnight sky? Or maybe greeting the gentle hush of dawn? Wherever you are, I'm grateful you've joined me. So, take a slow, deep breath in, and let it out even slower. Let your shoulders fall. Let the noise of the day fade away. 'Cause tonight, we're traveling back in time, to the elegant, yet unyielding world of Victorian England. It's the year 1860. You've just awakened in a grand, cold bedroom, draped in velvet and lace. The first chill of morning brushes against your bare feet. You're only 18, a young woman about to begin your first season in society. Your mother stands in the doorway, her eyes filled with pride and purpose. "Today, darling," she says softly, "we begin preparing you for society." You feel your heart flutter, because this isn't a game, or a party, or a dream. This is the beginning of everything, and the end of who you used to be. So breathe in slowly, and step with me into the shimmering, delicate maze of Victorian womanhood. The light grows stronger now, filtering through the heavy curtains. Your maid enters quietly, carrying the garments that will shape your day and your destiny. First, your stays. They wrap around your ribs like firm, patient hands, not cruel but commanding. You breathe in shallowly, feeling the faint tug of laces as your mother's fingers work. Shoulders drawn back, chin lifted, a perfect posture for a perfect daughter. Over the stays comes the chemise, cool cotton brushing your skin. Then layer upon layer, petticoats that whisper like rainfall, and the pale blue wool gown that glows softly in the mirror's light. But your most important garment is invisible, a gown woven from rules, unwritten yet absolute, rules that will decide your reputation, your marriage, your very survival. Your mother speaks in that calm, deliberate tone, used only for serious lessons. You must never be alone with a gentleman, she reminds you. Not for a walk, not for a single word. Without a chaperone present, every moment of your life now is observed. Every glance, every smile, every pause in conversation is recorded silently in the minds of others. Your reputation, a soap bubble in the air, beautiful, fragile, and one careless breath could break it. Your chaperone appears, a watchful shadow in lace and silk. She follows you everywhere. She walks, even when you pause to admire a painting. Her job is simple, to make sure you never have a moment that could be misunderstood. And society's imagination needs very little to misunderstand. A letter from a man, scandalous, a gift, dangerous, a handshake that lingers a second too long, unforgivable. You begin to realize your freedom has shrunk to the width of your fan. A fan, your constant companion. It's not just for cooling warm skin beneath ballroom lights. It's a language, secret one, closed against the left cheek, against the right, opened and closed slowly. "I wish to speak with you," dropped to the floor. "We belong to each other." Each gesture is a whisper of rebellion wrapped in grace. Code passed quietly, from mother to daughter, a private rebellion in a public world. Tonight is your first test. Candles flicker in crystal holders. The scent of beeswax and rosewater hangs in the air. Your gown, dark green silk, whispers with each breath you take. Your hair gleams beneath the candlelight, woven with pearls like frozen moonlight. A young gentleman approaches, introduced with practiced precision. Mr. Charles Whitmore. He bows. You curtsy, and the dance of words begins. You speak of novels. Carefully. He mentions Jane Eyre. You see the spark of curiosity in his eyes. And something deeper. Question he cannot ask aloud. You raise your fan halfway, resting it lightly in your right hand. If he knows the code, he'll understand. I like you, but proceed carefully. His lips curve into a faint smile. I might ask for another recommendation. The next time we meet, you move the fan across your cheek. I would be delighted, sir. And just like that, a secret promise is made. The music begins. The first waltz of the night. It's daring. Almost forbidden. He offers his hand. You accept. Gloved fingers touch gloved fingers. And for 3 slow minutes, the world falls away. His hand rests lightly at your waist. His scent, wood and smoke, pulls you into the rhythm. It's the briefest taste of freedom you've ever known. Then the music fades. The spell breaks, and you both step back into propriety. Days pass in a gentle haze of waiting. Letters you cannot write. Words you cannot say. Meetings arranged through polite coincidence. You see him at libraries, dinners, and concerts. Each glance becomes a message. Each word a confession in disguise. Your mother approves. Society nods. And beneath all the rules, something fragile and real begins to grow. But behind the curtain of romance, a different conversation unfolds. Your father meets his father. They talk not of feelings, but of dowries, inheritances, and the weight of names. They call it a marriage settlement, but it's really a contract. You're the clause in fine print. Your value, measured in coin and connection. Your future, decided in a room where you're not invited. One morning, your father enters the drawing room. Mr. Whitmore has something to ask you. Charles steps forward, his voice steady but nervous. Miss Harrison, he says, would you do me the honor of becoming my wife? The world stills. You feel your pulse echo in your fingertips. You say yes, because that's what is expected. 'Cause you do like him. And because saying no isn't really a choice at all. And as your voice leaves your lips, you feel it. The quiet closing of a door. Behind your freedom, your engagement changes everything. Suddenly, you're both celebrated and restrained. Too young to rule your own life, yet old enough to be bartered for it. Your mother takes you to London to assemble your trousseau. The wardrobe that will define your married years. Silk, muslin, lace, linen. So many textures you'll touch, but never truly choose. Shopkeepers call you madam now, as if the word itself erases your girlhood. Each fabric holds a promise you cannot read. The weight of duty, the shimmer of expectation. Even the mirror seems to study you differently, asking not who you are, but whose you will be. You stand in the dressmaker's parlor, pinned and measured like a mannequin. White silk glimmers under gaslight, seed pearls catching each heartbeat. 32 buttons run from wrist to elbow. A train long enough for 2 bridesmaids to guide. In the mirror you look ethereal and strange, a porcelain version of yourself, polished smooth for display. The dressmaker smiles. Perfect, she says softly. But you're no longer sure what perfect means. Married women gather around you, their laughter measured, their eyes cautious. Be patient with your husband, one advises. Men have needs, says another. The words float like perfume, sweet, and slightly suffocating. You nod, pretending to understand. No one explains what truly awaits you. It is knowledge transferred in fragments, in lowered voices and careful silences. The unknown waits just beyond the veil of white silk. October sunlight spills through stained glass. Dust motes dance like tiny blessings. Your father's arm feels solid beside you. As you walk the aisle, Charles stands ahead, nervous, earnest, hands clasped tight. The vicar's voice wraps around you. Love, honor, and obey. The word obey lands heavily, like an invisible chain. When you whisper, I do, a lifetime settles quietly into place. The ceremony ends in a blur of light and sound. Guests smile, glasses clink, champagne sparkles. But beneath the laughter, you feel a subtle shift. Miss Harrison dissolves. Mrs. Whitmore takes her place. You are congratulated, kissed, and handed off. From father to husband, like property changing hands. With ceremonial grace, the road stretches through damp fields. Your veil flutters softly in the draft. Charles sits beside you, speaking kindly, but both of you sense the weight of the night ahead. Whitmore Hall emerges from twilight, ivy, stone, and history. Servants line the entry like statues. You smile as you were taught to, but inside your pulse keeps whispering. This is not your home yet. Mrs. Crawford, the housekeeper, guides you through echoing halls. This way, madam, the breakfast parlor. The accounts, the pantry lists. Columns of numbers march across heavy paper. Kippers on Tuesday. Eggs and bacon otherwise. Tea strong, one lump. You nod, pretending confidence. Realizing your husband's comfort is now your measure of success. Each room feels beautiful and borrowed. Scene 19, Nightfall. Soft rain against window, low heartbeat drum. Sarah, your new maid, helps you out of your wedding gown. Buttons undo like tiny sighs. You slip into white cotton, simple, unknowing. A knock at the connecting door. Charles enters, hesitant, kind. The moment is tender, awkward, and nothing like the stories. Later, lying awake in the dark, you understand why older wives call it duty. Outside, rain whispers against the glass. A lullaby for resignation. Dawn creeps through lace curtains. You wake alone. He's already at work. Servants await your instructions. What shall we have for dinner, ma'am? Your mind goes blank. You choose roast beef, safe, expected. Then come questions of vegetables, sauces, courses. The puzzle of domestic life unfolds. 1,000 tiny decisions you were never taught to make. A letter arrives, addressed to Mrs. Charles Whitmore. Takes you a moment to recognize yourself. You reach to open it. Pause. Is it even yours to read? Charles explains gently. It's from the Ladies' Charitable Society. You should accept. And you realize, every choice, every word, must pass through him first. Your name, your voice, your life, all folded neatly inside his. Days begin to merge. Breakfast at 8. Letters at 9. A supervised walk at 11. Calls from neighboring wives after tea. You fill notebooks with menus, guest lists, and lists of linen to be laundered. Your handwriting grows neater, your thoughts smaller. Charles leaves early, returns late. When he enters the room, conversation feels like duty, a polite exchange of weather, estate, accounts. You smile. He nods. And the distance between you becomes a polite silence shaped like companionship. Society expects you to host. Graciously, flawlessly. Afternoons fill with chatter about fashion, politics, and servants' shortcomings. You master the art of agreeing without meaning it. Lady Densmore leans close. You're settling in beautifully, she whispers. You smile, the trained reflex of survival. But when the last carriage departs and the candles burn low, you find yourself whispering to the empty air. Beautifully, into what? Charles commissions a portrait. Every house needs its lady on canvas, he says proudly. You sit for hours, spine straight, gaze composed. The painter captures you flawlessly, the pearls, the poise, the calm. But in the reflection of his eyes, you catch something else. Question. Perhaps he sees what you cannot say. When it's done, the painting hangs above the mantel. A perfect woman who never blinks, never breathes, never dreams. A letter arrives from your younger sister. She writes of music, gardens, laughter. Her words smell of freedom. You trace the ink with your fingertips, feeling both warmth and ache. She ends with, "I can't wait to visit and see your new life." You fold the page carefully, slipping it into a drawer, because you cannot explain that new life. Feels more like an echo of an old one, just quieter. You discover the unused piano in the east wing. Dust cloaks the keys. You brush it away and play softly, hesitant, secret. The sound blooms through silence like sunlight through mist. You remember who you were before all this. A girl who felt music instead of expectation. A maid pauses in the doorway, listening. You stop, suddenly self-conscious. But she smiles shyly. "Please, madam, don't stop." You play on. It begins over nothing. A servant's mistake, a missing account book. Charles's tone sharpens. Yours does too. You are both startled by your own voices. He apologizes later, gently. But the apology sits on the surface, like rain that never soaks in. You realize marriage is not harmony. It's negotiation performed daily. Sometimes tenderly. Sometimes like war with velvet weapons. Winter settles heavy over the estate. You fall ill, fever, chills, fatigue. For days, the world blurs through fever dreams. Charles sits by your bed at first, then leaves matters to the doctor and servants. You hear their whispers. Delicate constitution, common among ladies. When you wake fully, the first sound is silence. No one expects your voice, only your recovery. A week later, Charles brings you a gift. A gold locket engraved with your initials entwined with his. "It's beautiful," you say. And it is. But you notice something curious. Inside the locket, only one miniature, his. He means it as devotion. Yet it feels like ownership. A symbol of how gently the self can disappear. Beneath the sheen of affection, you begin to write a letter to your sister. It starts with cheerful words. "The house is lovely. Charles is kind." Then your pen hesitates. You stare at the blank page and realize honesty would sound like rebellion. You set the pen down. The rain outside becomes your confession. Soft, endless, unrecorded. You pass the hall mirror and stop. The candle in your hand flickers. For a moment you meet your own eyes. Not the painted version, not the wife, but the woman behind both. There she is, quiet, waiting, unbroken. You whisper to her reflection, "I see you." The candle trembles. And for the first time in months, you smile. You wander one afternoon through unused corridors, drawn by the faint scent of paper and dust. Behind an unmarked oak door, a room lined floor to ceiling with books. Charles's father's collection, long untouched. You brush your fingertips over the spines. Histories, philosophies, and something rarer. A small worn volume titled A Vindication of the Rights of Woman. You hesitate, listening for footsteps. Then you open it. The words feel electric, as if someone long ago whispered directly into your mind. You are allowed to think. At night, when the house sleeps, you light a single candle and read. Paragraph by paragraph. Your heart begins to stretch again. You learn that obedience can be a prison, masquerading as virtue. You underline sentences in pencil. Not rebellion in action, but rebellion in ink. Each mark feels like breathing more deeply than you've ever dared before. A new governess arrives, Miss Gray. She is older, quiet, with eyes that notice everything. Over tea, she mentions she once taught in London. There is something unsentimental in her voice, a steadiness you envy. She catches you watching her. "Books are excellent company," she says softly. You nod too quickly. For the first time, another woman sees. that you have begun to question. A neighboring couple visits for dinner. The men discuss railways and profits. The women embroider and smile. Miss Gray, sitting slightly apart, mentions a lecture she once attended about education for girls. The table stills. Lady Densmore murmurs, "Such modern ideas are dangerous." Miss Gray merely sips her tea. And in that silence, you feel something inside you harden into conviction. Later you ask Charles quietly, "Do you believe women should be educated?" He laughs kindly. "They're already educated enough to manage a home." You smile as you must. But that answer echoes long after he's gone to bed. It's the first time you see the wall clearly. Not as protection, but as containment. You begin to write each night. Not letters, not lists, a diary. No one knows. You record thoughts you cannot speak. Your curiosity, your anger, your growing sense of being two people at once. Each word steadies you. Each page feels like a secret room. Only you possess. You escape for a walk alone. Technically forbidden. The sky is low. The air filled with the scent of wet earth and leaves. For a moment you feel unnamed. Neither wife nor daughter. Just a presence within nature itself. You whisper to the wind, "I belong to no one." It doesn't answer. But it doesn't disagree. Returning early, you forget to hide the book. Charles finds it on the table. His face darkens, not with rage, but with bewildered disappointment. "Why fill your head with this?" he asks. "These ideas unsettle women." You murmur an apology. But inside, a calm defiance takes root. The seed will not be unplanted. Days pass in strained politeness. He is gentle, you are careful. But beneath every exchange, a tremor of difference. You have tasted thought. He has sensed distance. The house feels slightly colder. Not from weather, but from what cannot be spoken aloud. You dream of standing in an open field, beneath a silver dawn. Your corset unlaced itself. Your breath moves freely. Your heart unbound. A voice, your own yet older, whispers, "The world is wider than you've been told." You wake before sunrise. The dream fading but its truth remaining. Somewhere deep within. You know, the next time you open that door, you will not close it again. You wake before the household stirs. The light pale and thin through the lace curtains. In the quiet, you dress with deliberate slowness. Every layer of silk and cotton feels heavier today, a reminder of what is expected. But in your chest there is a stirring, a determination not yet spoken aloud. You make a silent promise to yourself, to read, to learn, to know, even if only in secret. You retrieve the forbidden volume from the shelf. The spine is worn, corners dog-eared. Your fingers trace the embossed letters as if greeting an old friend. The words feel alive. They whisper of rights, of freedom, of possibility. You realize knowledge can be a quiet rebellion, a weapon sharpened with thought rather than voice. The fire flickers shadows across the walls, and for the first time in weeks you feel fully awake. Sarah, your maid, pauses as she dusts near your door. You catch her glance, quickly averted. "Curious, aren't you?" You murmur, more to yourself than to her. She smiles faintly, and in that small acknowledgement, you sense a shared understanding. Not every woman in this house has fully surrendered. Some hearts remain quietly alive, even within the walls of obligation. Charles and you disagree over trivial matters. A misplaced ledger, a decision about household repairs. Normally you would bend, swallow your words. But now you speak softly yet firmly, making your perspective known. He pauses, startled by the clarity in your tone. You feel a thrill, a small, trembling power, that comes from refusing to vanish entirely. Late at night, you write a short note to Miss Gray. inquiring about a lecture she once attended in London. You fold it, seal it, hide it within the folds of your gown. Sending it would be scandalous. Yet the act itself feels thrilling. Even small gestures, unobserved, can remind the mind that it still belongs to you. You sit by the window, observing the grounds below. Servants hurry, carriages rumble, the world continues. Unaware of the quiet rebellion stirring in a young woman's mind. You imagine life beyond these walls. Beyond the obligations. Beyond the title of Mrs. Whitmore. Even imagining it feels dangerous. But your heart lifts with possibility. A cousin from London visits. A woman of education and wit. Who in conversation asks, "Do you ever wish you could choose your life completely?" Your heart beats faster. The question is innocent, polite. Yet it pierces the careful walls of propriety. You answer with measured words. But inside you feel recognition. Someone else has seen the woman hidden beneath the gown. You reflect on the difference between speaking and thinking. Every word you utter is measured, safe, contained. But your mind roams freely. You understand now that rebellion need not be loud. Thoughts, secret reading, small gestures. They are enough to maintain a sense of self. Even the house itself seems less imposing. When approached in this quiet, deliberate way, you successfully host an afternoon tea without error. The ladies praise your poise, your grace. Charles nods in approval. But the real triumph is invisible. You carried your own thoughts through the day. Without erasure, you moved through the world. Without letting it fully absorb you. And in that small, silent victory, you feel your identity solidify. At night you sit by candlelight, writing in your diary. The candle flame trembles, casting shadows that dance along the walls. You whisper to yourself, "I exist beyond the silk and the pearls." The house sleeps around you, oblivious to the small, subtle revolution, quietly unfolding in its midst. While dusting the library, you notice a small, narrow shelf behind an unassuming curtain. It contains pamphlets and essays, some politically daring, some written by women who refused silence. Your heart quickens. You pull one free, letting the paper unfold like a secret map. The words feel dangerous and alive. Yet you cannot resist. Even the risk of discovery seems worth the knowledge. You sit by the window, candle at your side, reading carefully. Every word feels electric, every paragraph a breath of freedom. You memorize arguments and stories, storing them in your mind like precious jewels. The tea tray arrives, but you ignore it, lost in thought. A maid glances at you, puzzled. You simply smile politely. No one must know that your mind has begun to wander beyond expectation. Your London cousin returns, this time with news of debates and lectures. She speaks quickly, with energy and authority. You listen, absorbing her words, your thoughts racing. She asks questions about your life here, about your reading, your opinions. You answer with care, hinting at your curiosity without exposing your defiance. A spark passes between you. Someone else understands the hunger for more. After the visitors leave, you retreat to the east wing. You close the door behind you and sit with your forbidden texts. The world beyond these walls feels tangible and near. Even if you can only touch it with your mind, your heartbeat slows. Even in this quiet, you sense a widening. A space inside you that no title, no gown, no expectation can reach. During a neighborly dinner, you notice the subtle hierarchies of behavior. The women speak with carefully constructed smiles, voices soft but precise. Some bend completely to their husband's will. Some find small, unseen ways to assert preference. You realize the house is a stage, and everyone plays a role. And perhaps, if carefully chosen, your role can include freedom, even if only within invisible margins. You write a letter to Miss Gray, carefully folded and hidden within a book. You speak of ideas, of thoughts too delicate to voice aloud. Secrecy heightens the thrill. The envelope sits in your drawer, unread by anyone else. It is yours, a proof that even in constraint, your voice exists somewhere. If only on paper, if only in thought. You leave the house after dark, walking along the gardens. The moon casts silver across the hedges, the river reflecting quiet light. Every sound seems magnified. Every shadow feels alive. Yet the risk, the thrill, the freedom, it feels like breathing. You imagine a life where the rules are suggestions, not chains. Charles finds you in the library. He questions your choice of reading, his tone polite but firm. You answer carefully, choosing words that do not betray your excitement. Inside, your mind races. How much can you explore before discovery becomes danger? You feel the tension of living in two worlds simultaneously. Obedient wife, curious mind. By candlelight, you outline plans for your secret study sessions. You make a careful schedule, hiding the books in places no one will notice. Even this small act feels daring. Even small rebellion feels like claiming a piece of yourself back. The room is quiet, yet inside you feel wide open, expansive, free. You speak your mind subtly at dinner, questioning a trivial household decision. Charles notices but says nothing. The moment passes, polite on the surface, revolutionary beneath. You sit quietly, savoring the sensation. Your thoughts have weight, your voice has edge, even if hidden. The first taste of defiance is intoxicating. And you know it will grow. You wake before sunrise, the room hushed in pale light. Each layer of clothing feels heavier than yesterday. But the weight is familiar now. Part expectation, part ritual. You sit by the window, notebook in hand, writing what no one else may ever read. The act of thinking, of recording thought, has become a lifeline, a subtle reclamation of yourself. Miss Gray joins you in the library, guiding your understanding of complex texts. Her voice is calm, precise, full of authority you crave. She does not correct gently as Charles might, but challenges you. The questions she asks make your mind stretch, forcing thoughts to grow sharper, stronger, bolder. You feel the thrill of education, hidden within walls meant to contain you. During a small social visit, you watch the women and men interacting. Some bow completely to tradition. Some slip small gestures of independence. You note how subtlety holds power. A glance, a tone of voice, a carefully placed word. Small rebellions invisible to those who refuse to see. Even in obedience you can maneuver, like water flowing in a rigid channel. One evening you accidentally leave a page visible. Charles glances, curiosity piqued. You do not panic. Instead you speak lightly of literature, offering only fragments he can understand. The book remains yours. But the acknowledgement hints at a shared, unspoken intelligence. You write again to Miss Gray, your words growing bolder. You explore ideas of independence, society, and women's rights. Every sentence strengthens your sense of self. The note is folded carefully, hidden beneath a shelf. Even if unread, it feels vital. Proof that thought cannot be fully contained. You begin to notice routines in the household. How servants move, how Charles reacts, how society operates. Patterns offer insight and opportunity. Even the most rigid structure has gaps. Small spaces where a clever mind can maneuver. You feel a growing confidence in your understanding. A quiet mastery of both domestic and social mechanics. During tea, a visiting lady mentions women's education. You speak carefully, hinting at your own knowledge. Eyes flicker, interest piqued, curiosity shared. No scandal erupts. Yet the conversation plants a seed of possibility. That thought can connect across silences, even in worlds built on compliance. One night, Charles passes your hidden books. You freeze. He glances, says nothing, and leaves. Your heart pounds. You realize the delicate balance you walk. Each small act of thought, each quiet rebellion, could be noticed, yet the danger sharpens your resolve. Freedom begins in the mind before it touches the world. By candlelight you read for hours. Your body is tired, but your mind hums with energy. The house sleeps around you. Outside, the wind carries distant whispers of life beyond walls. You imagine yourself there, walking, speaking, thinking freely. Even if only in imagination, you are alive. And your thoughts begin to feel like ownership of your own world. You pass the hall mirror, paused mid-step. Candlelight flickers across your features. You do not see only Mrs. Whitmore. You see yourself, a mind alert, aware, undiminished. A woman inhabiting a world that does not yet know her strength. The reflection whispers back softly. I am here. I exist. I will not vanish. You awaken to a quiet house, the morning light pale on the floorboards. You sit at the writing desk and list tasks for the day. Breakfast for Charles, letters to review, accounts to check. Yet in the margins you scribble ideas, thoughts that are yours alone. Even small acts of mental space feel liberating. A way to exist beyond the prescribed roles of wife and hostess. While the servants move efficiently through the house, you watch their routines with careful attention. Small habits, repeated gestures, unnoticed by others, reveal patterns in behavior and hidden openings in authority. Knowledge, you realize, is not only found in books. It is discovered in the quiet observation of those around you. A group of visiting ladies gathers in the parlor. Conversations flit between embroidery, teas, and garden flowers. You listen more than you speak, absorbing subtle social codes. A lady mentions a lecture in London, daring in its ideas. Your eyes light slightly. A hidden spark passes, unnoticed by polite society. That evening you write a short note to Miss Gray. It contains observations, reflections, and questions. Ideas you cannot voice aloud in your household. The envelope is tucked safely behind a book on the library shelf. Even the act of writing feels like a secret rebellion. Proof that your mind remains free despite the constraints around you. Charles proposes a minor change in household arrangements. You notice an error, something easily overlooked. Instead of silently correcting it, you speak carefully, suggesting an alternative. He listens, slightly surprised by your attention to detail. The tension is small but real. Your voice, quiet but present, asserts itself without breaking propriety. The house settles into quiet. You sit by candlelight, reading one of your forbidden texts. Outside, the wind whispers through the trees. Inside, your thoughts hum with energy. Even if no one notices, even if the world remains unchanged, you feel the satisfaction of existing deliberately, thoughtfully, freely. During the evening, you watch interactions between guests and household members. Subtle gestures, a glance, a shift in posture, a carefully timed word, reveal power and influence hidden beneath polite manners. You understand that manipulation is often unspoken. Even in constraint, subtlety allows for movement, choice, and control. Late at night, you leave a book slightly exposed on the library table. Charles notices but does not question. Inside, your heart races. The thrill of intellectual risk courses through you. Even small dangers affirm the existence of choice and independence. You write in your diary, reflecting on the subtle risks of the day. Each observation, each hidden word, strengthens your understanding of yourself. The journal becomes a companion, a confidant, and a silent rebellion. The act of writing alone feels like claiming ownership of your mind. You pass the mirror on your way to bed. The candlelight casts gentle shadows across your face. You do not see only the obedient Mrs. Whitmore. You see a mind awake, alert, quietly resistant. A reflection that reminds you, though the world expects silence, your thoughts, your curiosity, your defiance cannot be erased. You awake to the first light filtering through lace curtains. Each morning feels like a ritual, a balance between duty and thought. You sit at the window, tracing patterns in the garden below. Every detail seems meaningful. The alignment of flower beds, the movement of servants, the way shadows fall. These small observations become a mental map of your surroundings, a quiet tool of understanding and control. You move through the morning routines with deliberate care. Breakfast preparation, checking accounts, instructing servants. Yet you carry your thoughts alongside each task, allowing your mind to wander. The mundane becomes a stage for strategy, observation, and planning. Even the smallest action, adjusting a tablecloth, correcting a servant's posture, feels significant. A group of ladies arrives for tea, their conversation polite but habitual. You listen, noting which women defer completely to their husbands and which exercise small but clever influence. You contribute sparingly, carefully measured words hinting at knowledge and curiosity. Eyes flicker with recognition. Some notice, some do not. The balance of visibility and subtlety becomes a game, one you begin to understand. That evening you pen another letter to Miss Gray. You write of the nuances you have noticed, the little cracks in obedience, the hidden hierarchies in the household. Folding it neatly, you tuck it behind a thick volume on the library shelf. Even if the letter is never read, it is a tangible proof that your mind moves freely, beyond the walls of expectation. Charles proposes a minor change in household arrangements. You notice a flaw, a detail easily missed, and speak softly but with confidence. He listens, slightly surprised, then nods. You realize that your influence is growing, subtle yet undeniable. Even within the constraints of marriage, your thoughts and decisions carry weight. You retreat to your quiet corner, reflecting on the day. The house is calm. Servants move efficiently. Your mind hums with insight and observation. The act of quietly shaping outcomes without drawing attention becomes a meditative ritual, affirming your presence and autonomy. During another social visit, you watch interactions carefully. The women speak in measured tones, their gestures precise, their words carefully chosen. You notice subtle power plays. A glance, a hesitated phrase, a moment of authority disguised as politeness. You absorb these patterns, cataloging strategies for future use. Late at night, you read a forbidden pamphlet, your pulse quickening. Charles glances but does not intervene. The thrill of intellectual risk courses through you. Even small dangers heighten your awareness, sharpening both mind and resolve. You record your thoughts in your diary, reflections on observation and subtle influence. Each sentence is a small assertion of independence, a testament to the life of the mind. The diary becomes your companion and your rebellion, hidden but alive, a sanctuary of freedom in a house built on expectation. Passing the mirror once more, you pause. The reflection shows more than Mrs. Whitmore, the obedient wife. It shows a mind alert, capable, quietly defiant. A presence that has begun to navigate the world with subtle power and intention. The face before you whispers, "I exist. I am becoming more than the world allows." You awaken to the first pale light of day spilling across your chamber. The house is hushed. Even the servants move quietly, aware of the fragile morning calm. You linger by the window, tracing the shapes of hedges, the curve of gravel paths, and the slant of sunlight on the stone walls. Every detail is a note in a silent symphony, every shadow a clue to the rhythms of the household. You take your journal and record observations. The timing of the staff, the habits of your husband, the ebb and flow of visitors. With each line written, the room grows larger, your mind sharper. Today you will plan small adjustments to the household routines, not to disrupt, but to anticipate, to prepare. Breakfast must be ready precisely at 8. Letters must be opened with discretion. You consider small improvements that will make tasks smoother. even as you remind yourself that observation is power, and power need not always be visible. As you move through the morning, directing the staff and reviewing accounts, you notice subtleties invisible to most. The cook, her brow furrowed, hesitates over the choice of vegetables. The housekeeper aligns chairs slightly askew. A footman lingers where he should be elsewhere. You adjust each situation with small, almost imperceptible gestures. A nod here, a question there, a softly spoken instruction. Your influence spreads silently, shaping the day without drawing attention. Even Charles notices, quietly approving your foresight, yet unaware of the depth of your planning. It is exhilarating. The boundaries of obedience and freedom feel elastic. You are learning to navigate them with precision. With each task completed, you record reflections in your mind, noting where rules can bend, where traditions can be observed yet subtly improved. The quiet thrill of invisible control becomes addictive, like the secret language of the fan, a skill honed through patience and observation. Visitors arrive for afternoon tea, a small assembly of ladies and gentlemen whose manners are polished but carefully measured. You watch each gesture and phrase, noticing the subtle hierarchies of conversation. Who defers, who asserts, who conceals ambition behind pleasantries. When it is your turn to speak, you choose words that hint at knowledge without provoking curiosity. A book you recently read becomes the touchstone of conversation, a bridge between intellect and decorum. A lady tilts her head, intrigued by your insight, while others smile politely, unaware. You feel a quiet thrill at the recognition of intelligence, hidden in plain sight. Even the most inconspicuous interactions carry weight. A carefully placed compliment, a question posed with subtle precision, and you have subtly shifted the energy of the room. Observation, restraint, and timing. These are your tools, sharpened in silence, executed without fanfare. The house grows quieter as the day winds down. You retreat to the library, candlelight soft against the walls lined with books. The rain taps gently against the window, a muted percussion accompanying your thoughts. You select a text carefully, one forbidden or obscure, and let its ideas flow through your mind. Paragraph by paragraph, your understanding deepens, your thoughts becoming bolder yet measured. Writing in your journal, you dissect social expectations, household patterns, and subtle human behaviors. Each observation becomes a lesson, each reflection a seed for future action. Outside, the night spreads softly over the estate, yet inside, your mind feels vast, free, untethered. Even in the quiet confines of expected obedience, you have discovered expanses that belong only to you. You inhale the rhythm of the house and exhale your thoughts into pages that no one else will read. You sit by candlelight, mapping out subtle strategies for household management. Each servant, each task, each social interaction becomes a point on your mental chessboard. You note patterns, anticipate challenges, and create contingencies. Silent rules of navigation that ensure efficiency and respect without overt disruption. Charles, unaware, follows the natural flow you subtly guide. Even minor adjustments, a rescheduled delivery, a revised arrangement of chairs, a rearranged table setting, ripple through the day, smoothing friction points that no one else notices. You savor the quiet mastery of these small interventions. Your mind is alive with foresight and calculation. Each success reinforces your confidence, a private satisfaction that contrasts with the polite stillness of the household. The thrill lies not in recognition, but in the act itself, in knowing your influence exists quietly, invisibly, yet undeniably real. A letter arrives, addressed to Mrs. Charles Whitmore. You handle it with care, conscious of your limited autonomy in correspondence. Charles reads it politely and gestures for you to attend the content carefully. Your attention to detail, your observations of language and nuance, allow you to contribute subtly to the response. Later, alone, you write to Miss Gray again, sharing insights and questions. Each word is deliberate, each idea cautious yet daring. The act of writing these secret letters carries a pulse of rebellion, a reminder that thought and expression can exist even in constrained circumstances. These moments are sacred, proof that your mind, your curiosity, your identity persist beyond the limits of your prescribed social role. The candle flickers, the rain continues its rhythm, and your thoughts flow with quiet intensity. You watch the servants move, noting small habits and repeated behaviors. The maid hesitates over certain tasks, the butler arranges objects slightly off-axis, the cook aligns ingredients meticulously. Each detail becomes a puzzle, a lesson in human patterns and predictability. You catalogue these observations mentally, devising small interventions to guide efficiency and harmony without overt control. The subtle shaping of outcomes becomes second nature. Influence flows through quiet observation and minor, almost invisible adjustments. Even Charles, immersed in his work, follows a day shaped by your foresight. You sense the quiet power inherent in understanding, the thrill of mastering an environment without ever appearing dominant. It is a secret, private satisfaction, reinforcing your growing confidence. As the evening settles, you retreat to the quiet of your private chamber. Candlelight illuminates the pages of your journal, the room hushed except for the soft rhythm of your thoughts. You reflect on the day. Interactions, observations, small victories, subtle influences. Even the simplest task now carries meaning. Every decision is an opportunity for strategy. Your mind traces the arcs of conversation, the flow of service, the nuances of household hierarchy. You realize that, even in obedience, intelligence and foresight allow for agency. The realization brings a quiet satisfaction, a meditative awareness that your intellect, curiosity, and subtle defiance remain alive, unbroken. Outside, the night stretches calm and infinite, a mirror of the expanding world within your mind. Passing the hall mirror once more, you pause. Your reflection no longer shows only the obedient Mrs. Whitmore. Candlelight glimmers across features sharpened by thought, eyes alert with quiet knowledge. The posture, once merely a product of societal expectation, now reflects deliberate awareness. You see the dual existence you occupy, the visible wife, polite and measured, and the hidden mind, expansive and deliberate. This mirror, like your journal and your secret letters, confirms that identity cannot be erased by law or custom. Though invisible to others, it exists fully. In this quiet moment, your reflection whispers affirmation. I see. I think. I am here. The household settles into a hushed rhythm, servants asleep, Charles reading in his study. You lie in your chamber, layers of fabric and thought pressing gently against your form. The day's observations settle like a quiet hum in your mind. Patterns, routines, small interventions, all converge into a silent awareness of control and understanding. You trace the subtle threads of influence, imagining adjustments and refinements for tomorrow. Even the limitations of your role seem pliable under the careful weight of thought. In this quiet, solitary space, you realize that identity, knowledge, and subtle power endure where visible authority may falter. Sleep beckons gently, carrying you toward dreams in which the mind remains unbounded. Oh, you awaken as the first light brushes the edges of your chamber. Layers of petticoats and wool drape around you, heavy yet comforting in their familiarity. Moving quietly, you note the way the morning sun touches the garden paths, marking shadow and time. Servants move through their duties with quiet efficiency, and you feel the subtle thrill of orchestration. Each step of breakfast preparation, each folded napkin, every perfectly poured cup of tea falls under your watchful attention. Your journal lies open on the desk, waiting for observations, reflections, and new strategies. Today, you plan not only meals and accounts but also a minor adjustment to the library shelves and a subtle reorganization of linens. You imagine the ripple effect, small changes leading to smoother routines, invisible to anyone but keen observation. Even the simplest tasks carry power when executed thoughtfully, and the quiet weight of influence hums through your mind like a soft melody, calming yet electrifying. During breakfast, you watch each servant closely. The maid hesitates over a polished teapot, the footman shifts his weight uncertainly, and the cook aligns vegetables meticulously but slightly off from tradition. You make subtle gestures to redirect attention without speaking above a whisper. A glance, a tilt of the head, a soft nod, all sufficient to realign the flow of the household. Each intervention is invisible yet deliberate. You notice patterns in the way tasks are approached, moments of inefficiency, and opportunities for improvement. The thrill of quiet influence courses through you, a secret power flowing through obedience. Charles, immersed in correspondence, is oblivious to your adjustments, and that makes it even sweeter. Even small victories, unnoticed by others, become affirmations of competence and intellect. Observation alone, you realize, is already a form of control, and mastery grows from patience, attention, and restraint. Ladies and gentlemen arrive, bringing with them a gentle hum of conversation, polite manners, and subtle competition for attention. You listen carefully, observing gestures, tones, and glances. Each smile, tilt of the head, and hand movement communicates volumes about hierarchy and influence. When it is your turn to speak, your words are measured and precise, revealing intelligence without challenging propriety. A lady raises her eyebrows at a well-chosen quotation from a book you read, her intrigue passing unnoticed by others. The thrill of subtle recognition warms you quietly. Conversation becomes a delicate choreography, a dance where knowledge and discretion are key. Every interaction strengthens your awareness of social dynamics, of influence veiled in politeness. Even restraint becomes an instrument of power, every silent observation a thread in a growing network of subtle control, weaving patterns invisible to casual eyes. As evening falls, you retreat to your private chamber. The rain taps gently against the window, a slow rhythm accompanying your thoughts. Candlelight illuminates your journal, and your pen moves deliberately across the page. You record observations, staff patterns, conversational cues, social strategies, and small household victories. Each reflection strengthens your sense of self, asserting identity quietly yet resolutely. Even in compliance, your mind remains unbound, free to explore ideas, connections, and strategy. These written words are both a sanctuary and a map, guiding future action while preserving autonomy. Each phrase carries thoughtfulness and foresight, a quiet rebellion against invisibility. Even the simplest acts of recording become proof of your presence, a deliberate marking of intellectual space within a world that expects obedience. During the evening, you move quietly through the household, making minor adjustments, shifting tableware for symmetry, aligning chairs perfectly, ensuring linens are pristine. Each correction is deliberate, invisible to casual eyes yet noticeable in its effect. Even Charles, absorbed in letters, benefits silently from your foresight. Observation guides your movements, the way light falls on a polished surface, the timing of servant steps, the rhythm of routine. Each adjustment carries the satisfaction of invisible mastery. Even in the monotony of domestic life, you discover subtle victories, moments of quiet control that affirm your intelligence and awareness. The soft thrill of influence, unseen yet real, creates a gentle undercurrent of power flowing through the household, confirming that presence and attention matter as much as authority. A new letter arrives addressed to Mrs. Charles Whitmore. You handle it carefully, aware of your legal limitation in correspondence. Charles reviews it, then gestures for your input. Subtle observation allows you to suggest phrasing, tone, and content that smooth the response without drawing attention. Later, you write secretly to Miss Gray, sharing reflections and questions. Each word is deliberate, each idea cautious yet daring. Writing in secret is an affirmation of thought and independence, a subtle assertion of identity beyond societal constraints. Even the act of composing these letters carries a pulse of rebellion. The knowledge that your mind, curiosity, and intellect remain fully alive. The candle flickers, rain taps gently, and your thoughts flow freely, a quiet current beneath the structured routine of household life. By candlelight, you observe household patterns with increasing clarity. Each servant, each routine, each small decision is a point on a mental map. The maid arranges dishes slightly differently than yesterday. The footman hesitates over a tray. The cook aligns vegetables precisely. These details reveal hidden rules and opportunities for quiet adjustment. You note timings, habits, and small inefficiencies, cataloging strategies to improve flow and harmony. Even without authority, observation allows subtle guidance. Charles, focused on work, follows routines shaped by your foresight. The thrill of invisible influence deepens. A private power exercised through attention and subtle intervention, a soft rebellion against the limitations imposed upon your role. The house is hushed. Servants are asleep, Charles reading in the study. You lie in bed, tracing the events of the day, noting small triumphs of observation and influence. Minor adjustments to routines, carefully guided interactions, and precise attention to detail accumulate into a sense of control. Even in apparent obedience, you have discovered the thrill of agency, the satisfaction of subtle power. Your journal lies open beside the bed, a record of thought and reflection. Patterns are recognized, strategies formulated, and small victories acknowledged. The quiet hum of awareness fills your mind, affirming identity, intellect, and independence in a world that would demand invisibility. Sleep approaches gently, carrying thoughts of subtle mastery and quiet achievement. Passing the hall mirror, you pause. Candlelight dances across your face, illuminating features sharpened by thought. The reflection shows more than Mrs. Whitmore, obedient and measured. It shows a mind awake, aware, quietly asserting itself. Your posture, once molded by societal expectation, now reflects deliberate presence. Every glance, every movement carries intention. In this moment, you affirm your identity. Thought, observation, and subtle influence persist where law and custom would erase individuality. The reflection whispers reassurance. I exist. I am aware. The layers of fabric and routine no longer weigh. They frame your deliberate presence, a quiet power that lives invisibly but undeniably. The house is silent, rain a gentle percussion on the roof. You lie awake, reflecting on the day. Minor household adjustments, subtle conversational cues, secret letters, and careful observation converge into a quiet mastery of your world. Even without overt authority, your mind navigates complexities with precision. Each success, invisible to the casual eye, reinforces awareness and confidence. Constraints, once oppressive, now offer a field for subtle action, creativity, and foresight. Your thoughts trace possibilities, patterns, and strategies for tomorrow, confirming that intellect and autonomy persist regardless of role. Sleep approaches gently, carrying you toward dreams where observation, reflection, and quiet power shape every corner of life. You awaken with the sun gently illuminating the edges of your chamber. The layers of petticoats and wool drape around you with familiar weight, each movement deliberate. Today you move through the morning routine with conscious attention. Breakfast must be timed precisely, letters reviewed cautiously, and the household observed for nuances. You notice how the maid aligns the silver spoons and how the footman adjusts his posture. Even Charles, immersed in his correspondence, is subtly influenced by your unseen guidance. Each small action, folding napkins, arranging flowers, directing the cook, is executed with awareness, a quiet assertion of presence. The journal beside the window beckons. Every observation, every small adjustment, is a note in your private ledger of mastery, a soft hum of power beneath the veneer of obedience. The house hums with quiet activity. You move through each room, noting small inefficiencies. The cook hesitates, unsure whether the soup should be poured first or last. The maid misaligns plates slightly. A glance, a gentle word, a soft nod, all correct without drawing attention. These invisible corrections ripple through the household. Even Charles, focused on letters and plans, follows routines smoothed by your foresight. The thrill of subtle influence pulses quietly through your mind. Every adjustment reinforces your competence, confirms your presence. Observation becomes power, and power can exist quietly, unnoticed yet real. The day continues, each action reinforcing the rhythm of influence woven into domestic life, subtle yet undeniable. Visitors arrive in the afternoon, their polite conversation a delicate dance. You listen closely, noting gestures, inflections, and subtle cues of hierarchy. When it is your turn to speak, you select words carefully. Insightful yet unassuming, intelligent but unobtrusive. A lady notices a reference to a recently read book, a spark of recognition passing unnoticed by others. Conversation becomes a landscape of subtle power. Each carefully measured phrase a small assertion, each quiet observation a thread in a larger tapestry of understanding. Even in silence, your awareness shapes the room. The thrill of influence, quiet and unseen, flows like a soft current through the gathering, reinforcing your growing confidence in navigating society without overt authority. Later, you retreat to your private chamber to write a letter to Miss Gray. Each word is chosen with care, conveying insight, curiosity, and subtle defiance. Charles glances briefly but does not intervene, allowing the act of thought and expression to continue unchallenged. The secret letter is a sanctuary, a private exercise of autonomy. Even as societal expectations confine you, your mind roams freely, exploring ideas, strategies, and reflections. The candle flickers, casting shadows on the paper, and you feel the quiet thrill of independence. Observation and reflection are your tools, subtle yet potent, allowing intellect and identity to persist beyond the constraints of domestic life. You settle in the library as evening deepens. The fire flickers, casting warm light over the shelves of books. You trace the day's subtle victories in your mind, minor household adjustments, quiet observations, delicate conversational strategies. Even small successes are amplified in their invisibility. Each observation builds a mental map, a network of understanding that allows you to predict behavior, influence outcomes, and maintain authority without overt assertion. The world of the house feels increasingly navigable, a landscape you quietly shape. Even the constraints of marriage cannot erase intellect or autonomy. The warmth of knowledge and subtle mastery lulls you into a meditative calm, a gentle prelude to sleep. You wander the corridors, noting repeated patterns, the timing of tasks, the habits of each servant, and the subtle interplay of authority and obedience. Minor inefficiencies or hesitations are corrected silently. A whispered instruction, a subtle adjustment, a guiding glance. Each intervention is invisible yet powerful. Even Charles benefits without noticing, following routines smoothed by your foresight. The thrill of unseen mastery pulses quietly through your mind. Observation and discretion allow you to exercise agency, even in compliance. The household moves with newfound harmony, a testament to your quiet influence. Reflection deepens the understanding that subtle control, patience, and awareness can achieve more than overt authority. By candlelight, you record the day's events and reflections. Minor household adjustments, conversational cues, and observed patterns are catalogued carefully. Each entry reinforces your awareness, noting what works, what could be refined, and the subtle rhythms of influence that flow through the house. Writing in secret becomes a ritual of autonomy, a gentle assertion of identity. Even within societal constraints, thought and reflection remain free. Patterns, strategies, and small victories combine into a mental map, a quiet but potent network of control. Sleep approaches gently, carrying the comfort of understanding and the satisfaction of invisible accomplishment. Passing the mirror in the hallway, you pause. Candlelight glimmers on your face, revealing not just Mrs. Whitmore, obedient and composed, but a mind alert and aware. Your posture, once molded by expectation, now reflects deliberate presence. Every glance, gesture, and subtle adjustment carries intention. Reflection affirms identity. Thought, observation, and quiet influence persist where law and custom attempt erasure. The mirror whispers reassurance. I exist. I am aware. Layers of fabric and expectation no longer constrain you. They frame the presence of a quietly powerful mind, navigating constraints with skill and foresight. The house is hushed. Servants are asleep, Charles absorbed in study. You lie in bed, reflecting on the subtle orchestration of the day. Household adjustments, careful conversation, secret letters, and quiet observation. Even without overt authority, influence flows through precision, patience, and awareness. Constraints are transformed into opportunities for strategy, creativity, and subtle assertion of autonomy. The night hums softly around you, carrying a sense of mastery and understanding. Each thought, action, and reflection reinforces the quiet network of control you are building, confirming that intellect and presence persist despite the limits imposed by duty and expectation. Sleep beckons, gentle and serene, carrying you toward dreams of subtle influence and quiet power. Morning arrives, soft and golden. You awaken slowly, aware of the day ahead and the invisible currents you have already begun to shape. Breakfast, letters, and household routines await, each a canvas for subtle intervention and thoughtful guidance. You notice the patterns of shadows on the floor, the slight hesitations in the servants' movements, and the rhythm of Charles's morning activities. Awareness sharpens, and quiet mastery infuses every task. Even within the strictures of societal expectation, observation, patience, and precision allow subtle control. Each decision, each small adjustment, becomes part of a private map, a rhythm of influence unseen yet undeniable. The day unfolds gently, inviting careful action, reflection, and quiet assertion of intellect. The day begins quietly, sunlight streaming across the polished floors. You notice small details, the way shadows stretch along the hall, the slight hesitation of the maid as she arranges the silver, the footman's careful steps down the staircase. Breakfast preparation becomes a symphony of observation, subtle direction, and timing. Even Charles, absorbed in letters, benefits unconsciously from your guidance. Each decision, each gentle correction, is invisible yet meaningful. The thrill of quiet mastery pulses softly through your mind. Observing, adjusting, and anticipating, these small acts consolidate your influence. Layers of fabric, custom, and expectation no longer weigh you down. They frame a deliberate presence, a calm assertion of awareness in a world that otherwise erases individuality. You move through the house, noting small inefficiencies and minor hesitations. The cook aligns vegetables meticulously but slightly off pattern. The maid hesitates over folded linens. A glance, a tilt of the head, a whispered instruction, each correction invisible yet effective. Even Charles, focused on his correspondence, follows the flow you subtly shape. Observation becomes influence, patience a tool of quiet authority. Each adjustment reinforces competence, presence, and awareness. The house hums more smoothly under your guidance, invisible currents of control shaping routine and rhythm. Even the monotony of domestic life becomes a canvas for subtle mastery, a meditation in observation, and a gentle assertion of autonomy. Visitors arrive, bringing polite conversation and subtle social tests. You listen carefully, noting gestures, tones, and hints of hierarchy. Each smile, tilt of the head, or well-chosen phrase conveys unspoken meaning. When you speak, words are deliberate, insightful but unassuming, intelligent without arrogance. Recognition sparkles in one lady's eyes at your literary reference, unnoticed by others. Conversation becomes a landscape of subtle influence, each measured phrase a strategic placement, each silent observation a thread in a web of awareness. Even in restraint, power is exercised. Observation allows you to navigate this world with grace, strategy, and quiet mastery, each interaction reinforcing your growing confidence in influence without authority. By evening, you retreat to your private chamber. Candlelight dances across the desk as you write in secret, recording observations, patterns, and strategies. Each word chosen carefully, preserving thought and autonomy. Even as societal constraints confine your public life, your mind roams freely. Reflection becomes rebellion, subtle and gentle, an assertion of presence where visible authority is denied. Each recorded observation strengthens awareness, mapping connections, predicting patterns, and planning subtle interventions. The act of writing is both sanctuary and strategy, a quiet declaration that intellect, thought, and identity remain unbound. Sleep approaches gently, carrying the satisfaction of subtle mastery and quiet self-affirmation. You settle by the fire, candlelight flickering over books and journals. The day's subtle victories drift through your mind. Minor household adjustments, careful conversation, secret letters, and observations of guests. Patterns emerge, routines clarified, and small interventions yield smooth outcomes. Even without overt authority, influence persists through attention and insight. The quiet thrill of mastery hums softly in your chest. Constraints, once oppressive, now form a framework for subtle strategy. Each observation, every gentle correction, carries invisible power. The fire's warmth and the rain's gentle rhythm lull your senses, preparing mind and body for rest, while your awareness remains quietly awake, alert, and capable. You wander through the halls, cataloging patterns of movement, timing, and obedience. Minor hesitations or errors are corrected with subtle gestures, a nod, a glance, a gentle word. These invisible interventions ripple through the household. Even Charles benefits unconsciously from your quiet adjustments. Observation itself becomes a tool of influence. Each day brings a growing network of understanding, a map of routines and behaviors that allows precise guidance without the need for authority. The thrill of quiet mastery grows, a soft but undeniable assertion of presence. Even in restraint, you exercise intellect and control, learning the art of influence in small, deliberate movements. By candlelight, you write again, recording subtle household observations, social cues, and small strategic interventions. Each word carefully chosen, each reflection deliberate. Journaling becomes both sanctuary and strategy, a private exercise of autonomy in a world designed to confine. Patterns, routines, and minor victories accumulate into a mental map, a quiet network of understanding. Awareness persists where overt authority is denied. Reflection and writing are acts of subtle rebellion and assertion of intellect. Sleep arrives slowly, bringing calm and the quiet satisfaction of unseen accomplishment. Passing the hallway mirror, you pause. Candlelight illuminates not just Mrs. Whitmore, the obedient wife, but a mind alive, alert, and aware. Your posture is deliberate, each glance intentional. Even beneath layers of fabric and societal expectation, subtle mastery persists. Observation, thought, and quiet influence shape your presence. Reflection affirms identity. Intellect and autonomy survive within constraints. The mirror whispers reassurance. I exist. You see, I am aware. The house, the household, and the routines become instruments of subtle control, silent yet potent, flowing invisibly through each action and decision. The house sleeps quietly. Servants rest, Charles absorbed in study. You lie in bed, reflecting on the day. Minor household adjustments, careful conversation, secret letters, and subtle observations. Influence flows silently through precision, patience, and awareness. Constraints transform into opportunities for strategy, creativity, and quiet assertion of autonomy. The night hums softly around you, a gentle affirmation of subtle mastery and understanding. Each reflection reinforces invisible authority, confirming that intellect, awareness, and presence persist despite limitations. Sleep approaches, gentle and serene, carrying thoughts of control and quiet influence into dreams. Morning light filters softly through the curtains, illuminating the quiet house. You awaken slowly, aware of the day's potential. Breakfast preparation, letters, and household routines await, each an opportunity for subtle guidance. Shadows, timing, and gestures are noted, mental maps of behavior and routine forming in your mind. Awareness sharpens with each observation. Even within strict societal constraints, quiet mastery persists. Every small decision, every subtle adjustment, becomes part of a private rhythm of influence. The day stretches ahead like a canvas for careful action, reflection, and deliberate assertion of intellect and presence. Gentle power flows through observation, patience, and subtle intervention, preparing the day's quiet choreography. You rise as sunlight filters through the heavy curtains. Today your attention is sharper. Each servant's movements, each footstep, is noted carefully. You give instructions gently but deliberately. The cook begins preparing breakfast with precise timing, the maid arranges flowers to match your subtle preferences, and the footman anticipates deliveries without prompt. Even Charles, absorbed in correspondence, unknowingly follows routines shaped by your observation. Each small action reinforces quiet authority, a rhythm of influence invisible but effective. Awareness has become second nature. The house moves like a carefully guided orchestra, responding to your invisible cues, your presence felt without need for assertion. The afternoon passes slowly, filled with chores that require attention to minute details. You supervise without interference, noticing a slight misalignment in silverware, a tiny crease in linen, a misstep in the timing of tea preparation. Corrections are subtle. A nod, a soft suggestion, a quiet glance. Each adjustment flows seamlessly, unnoticed by others, yet it improves the household rhythm. Even minor victories, imperceptible to outsiders, fill you with a gentle satisfaction. Awareness has become influence, and influence, though silent, is a source of calm control. Tasks once mundane now carry quiet significance, as each small intervention maintains order and reinforces your unseen mastery. A visitor arrives, polite and observant. You watch carefully, noting her gestures, tone, and attentiveness. Every smile, tilt of the head, and carefully chosen phrase is a signal, a subtle negotiation of social position. When you speak, words are measured, intelligent yet unassuming, perceptive but gentle. Recognition passes unnoticed by others, yet it signifies understanding and connection. Conversation is a map, each phrase a pathway through social expectations. You navigate with precision, aware of subtle hierarchies and unspoken rules. Even within the constraints of polite society, strategy emerges quietly, as intellect and observation assert control over interactions. By evening you retreat to your private chamber. Candles illuminate the paper as you write letters in secret, reflecting on household patterns, social interactions, and subtle interventions. Words are chosen with care, thoughts shaped for clarity, insight, and discretion. Each note preserves autonomy, a private exercise of agency in a world designed to confine. Observing, reflecting, and recording becomes a ritual of independence, a silent affirmation of intellect and identity. The night hums softly around you as your mind plans, predicts, and strategizes. Even in constraint, thought remains free, and subtle influence persists. You settle by the fire, candlelight casting gentle shadows across the room. The day's subtle victories pass through your mind. Minor corrections, social navigation, private correspondence, and keen observations. Patterns become clear, routines predictable, and influence flows invisibly through the household. Even Charles, absorbed in his own concerns, follows the gentle rhythms you have shaped. Patience, awareness, and quiet observation have become tools of mastery. Constraints are now frameworks for strategy, shaping action, thought, and influence. Sleep approaches gently, accompanied by the calm assurance of control and quiet authority. You wander through the house, noting every pattern: the cook's timing, the maid's steps, the footman's anticipation. Minor errors are corrected quietly, subtly adjusting the flow of domestic life. Observation has become a tool of influence, allowing small, invisible interventions to ripple through the household. Even Charles benefits unconsciously from your orchestration. Each day, the patterns become a map of authority, subtle and invisible, yet effective. Awareness has transformed into quiet power, a meditation in observation and strategy, and even routine becomes a canvas for careful, deliberate action. By candlelight, you write again, reflecting on social cues, household rhythms, and minor interventions. Each entry catalogues successes, observations, and subtle strategies. Journaling is both sanctuary and assertion of identity, preserving intellect in a world that seeks compliance. Patterns and routines accumulate into a mental map, a quiet network of influence. Awareness persists even under societal constraints. Reflection, recording, and planning reinforce subtle mastery, providing a gentle satisfaction as sleep approaches. The quiet of the night amplifies the calm power of observation and understanding. Passing the mirror in the hallway, you pause to observe your reflection. Layers of fabric frame your form, but it is the mind behind the eyes that is fully awake. Posture, expression, and gesture are deliberate, each movement intentional. Even under societal expectation, subtle mastery persists. Reflection affirms identity and awareness. Your intellect, observation, and quiet influence remain intact, operating invisibly through household routines and social interactions. The mirror whispers assurance. I am aware. I am present. I am capable. The night carries this calm sense of power, unspoken yet real. The house rests. Servants sleep, Charles absorbed in study. You lie in bed, reflecting on the day's small victories. Household adjustments, strategic conversations, private correspondence, and subtle observations. Influence flows silently through attention, patience, and careful planning. Constraints become opportunities for quiet mastery. Each reflection reinforces invisible authority. Even in compliance, intellect persists. The night hums softly, carrying awareness, subtle power, and quiet understanding into sleep. The satisfaction of unseen achievement lulls the mind, preparing body and spirit for rest. Morning arrives with pale light, filtering softly through curtains. You awaken slowly, mindful of the day ahead. Breakfast preparation, letters, and household duties. Each action, gesture, and observation forms a part of subtle influence. Shadows, timing, and minor details are noted and incorporated into mental maps. Awareness sharpens with every movement. Within societal constraints, quiet mastery persists. Every small adjustment, every considered action, contributes to a rhythm of invisible authority. The day stretches ahead like a canvas for careful action, reflection, and deliberate assertion of intellect. Calm power flows through observation, patience, and subtle intervention. You rise slowly as sunlight fills the room. Today, every gesture, every instruction carries quiet weight. You guide the cook through breakfast, noting subtle details in timing, seasoning, and presentation. The maid aligns linens with careful oversight, while the footman anticipates deliveries. Even Charles, absorbed in letters, follows routines subtly orchestrated by your awareness. Observation becomes influence, invisible yet tangible. The house flows like a symphony tuned to your quiet direction. The rhythm of domestic life, once unfamiliar and chaotic, now responds to your presence. Each small act of guidance reinforces competence, awareness, and subtle authority, and a gentle satisfaction hums within you. The afternoon moves with deliberate slowness. You review the day's household schedule, noting inefficiencies, minor errors, and small opportunities for subtle correction. Instructions are delivered gently, with a tilt of the head or a whispered word. Each subtle intervention flows seamlessly, unnoticed by others, yet improving efficiency and harmony. Even Charles unknowingly follows these rhythms. Awareness has become influence, patience a tool, and observation a quiet assertion of control. Mundane tasks now carry significance, each decision and adjustment a meditation in strategic mastery. You begin to feel a calm, almost imperceptible pride in your ability to shape the household quietly. Visitors arrive, bringing polite conversation and subtle social tests. You listen carefully, noting posture, tone, and gesture. Every smile, tilt of the head, and well-chosen phrase conveys unspoken meaning. When you speak, words are precise, intelligent yet gentle, perceptive without imposing. Recognition passes unnoticed by others, yet it signals understanding and connection. Conversation is a carefully mapped landscape, each phrase a step through social rules and hierarchies. Even within the strictures of polite society, subtle strategy emerges. Observation, discretion, and insight allow influence without authority, reinforcing your growing confidence in quiet mastery. Evening draws you to your private chamber. You write letters to trusted friends, choosing words with care. Observations, reflections, and minor strategies are recorded in a quiet sanctuary of thought. Each note is an assertion of autonomy, a private exercise of agency in a world of confinement. Patterns, routines, and subtle victories accumulate in your mind as a network of understanding. Awareness flows freely, unbound by legal or societal constraints. Even in compliance, intellect persists. Writing becomes a ritual of independence and strategy, preparing both mind and spirit for calm, restorative sleep. You settle by the fire, candlelight flickering over books and journals. The day's subtle achievements pass through your mind. Minor household adjustments, careful conversation, private correspondence, and keen observation. Patterns emerge, routines clarify, and influence flows invisibly through domestic life. Even Charles benefits unconsciously from these gentle currents. Patience, awareness, and quiet observation have become tools of subtle mastery. The night hums softly around you, reinforcing calm, unseen authority. Constraints now serve as frameworks for deliberate action, reflection, and quiet assertion of intellect and presence. You wander through the corridors, noting every repetition and nuance. The cook's timing, the maid's hesitant movements, the footman's precise steps. Minor missteps are corrected subtly, silently adjusting the flow of domestic life. Observation itself becomes a tool of influence. Even Charles follows routines unconsciously guided by your awareness. Each day, patterns solidify into a quiet map of authority. Small, invisible interventions ripple through the household, reinforcing competence and presence. Awareness has transformed into power, delicate and subtle, but undeniable. Each action and reflection becomes part of a private rhythm of influence. You write by candlelight, recording observations, social cues, and subtle household strategies. Each word, deliberate and precise, preserves autonomy and intellect in a world designed for compliance. Journaling becomes both sanctuary and assertion of control. Patterns and routines accumulate, forming a private mental map of influence. Awareness persists even under societal limitations. Reflection reinforces mastery, and quiet power emerges from observation, strategy, and patience. Sleep arrives slowly, carrying calm, satisfaction, and the gentle sense of subtle authority into dreams. Passing the hallway mirror, you pause to examine your reflection. Layers of clothing frame the body, yet it is the mind behind the eyes that is fully awake. Posture, expression, and gesture are deliberate, every movement intentional. Even under strict social expectation, subtle mastery persists. Reflection affirms identity. Intellect, observation, and quiet influence endure, operating invisibly through household routines and social interactions. The mirror whispers reassurance. I am aware. I am present. I am capable. The night amplifies this calm sense of power, unseen yet real, comforting and grounding. The house rests. Servants sleep, and Charles is absorbed in study. You lie in bed, reflecting on subtle victories. Small adjustments in household routines, carefully navigated conversation, private letters, and keen observation. Influence flows quietly through patience, awareness, and careful thought. Even in compliance, intellect persists. The night hums softly with quiet authority. Constraints have become frameworks for strategy, subtle power, and careful action. Each reflection reinforces calm mastery, and the gentle hum of satisfaction prepares the mind and body for restorative sleep, carrying awareness and quiet influence into dreams. Morning light filters gently through the curtains. You awaken slowly, conscious of the day's rhythm and the opportunities it presents. Household tasks, letters, and social duties await, each a chance for subtle guidance and strategic action. Shadows, timing, and gestures are noted and incorporated into a mental map of influence. Awareness sharpens with every observation. Even within societal constraints, quiet mastery persists. Every small adjustment and considered action contributes to a rhythm of invisible authority. Calm power flows through patience, reflection, and subtle intervention, preparing you for another day of careful, deliberate influence. The sun rises slowly, casting pale light across the polished floors. You awaken with awareness, noting subtle shifts in shadow, light, and sound. Servants move quietly, guided by routines you have subtly shaped. You give instructions with gentle precision, ensuring breakfast, cleaning, and letters proceed seamlessly. Charles, absorbed in his own tasks, unconsciously follows the rhythm you've cultivated. Observation becomes influence, a quiet power operating beneath the surface. Even in the simplest morning tasks, your presence shapes the household. The slow flow of domestic life, once confusing, now hums with subtle mastery. Awareness and careful guidance have become second nature. Breakfast begins with the rhythm of minor perfection. Each dish arrives in proper order. The cook, maid, and footman follow subtle cues you've embedded. Charles comments on the coffee, perfectly brewed, unaware of your orchestrations. Observation of timing, placement, and gestures ensures smooth movement. Even minor adjustments, a tilt of a spoon, a whisper to the cook, a nod to the maid, enhance flow. Quiet influence is evident in every detail. Mundane tasks become exercises in subtle mastery. Every small victory reinforces competence and confidence. The invisible authority you exercise hums through the room, calm yet undeniable, shaping the day with quiet precision. The afternoon stretches, filled with tasks requiring attention and care. You check linens, adjust silverware, and observe patterns of movement. Each slight misstep is corrected gently, with a nod, glance, or whispered instruction. The household flows under your watchful attention. Even Charles, absorbed in his letters, unknowingly follows routines guided by your awareness. Observation becomes a tool of influence, shaping behavior and preserving harmony. Repetition builds mastery, and small, invisible interventions ripple through domestic life. Each adjustment, though unnoticed, strengthens your confidence and sense of subtle authority, creating a rhythm of quiet control that fills the home. Guests are expected for the evening, and anticipation hums through the air. You prepare, selecting books and conversation topics carefully. Each smile, gesture, and phrase is calibrated to convey intelligence without arrogance, kindness without weakness. You observe subtle signals from Charles and his guests, reading intentions and preferences. Even the arrangement of flowers and seating is subtly influenced by your awareness. Every detail contributes to social harmony, ensuring guests feel welcomed while maintaining your unspoken authority. The quiet thrill of subtle strategy emerges, and even mundane preparations are infused with deliberate, measured thought. By evening, you retreat to your private chamber. Letters are written with care, reflecting on observations, minor victories, and household strategy. Each word is deliberate, preserving autonomy in a world that confines. Reflection becomes both sanctuary and subtle rebellion. Patterns of behavior and routines are catalogued, creating a mental map of influence. Awareness flows freely, unbound by legal constraints. Even in compliance, intellect persists. Journaling reinforces quiet authority, providing calm satisfaction and reinforcing the rhythm of strategic mastery that underlies every day. Sleep approaches gently, carrying awareness and subtle influence into rest. The fire flickers softly as you settle nearby. Candlelight dances across books and letters, illuminating your quiet reflections. Minor adjustments, strategic observations, and subtle social interactions pass through your mind. Each pattern becomes clearer. Routines gain precision. Influence flows invisibly through the household, even as Charles remains unaware. Patience and careful observation are your tools of subtle authority. Constraints now serve as frameworks for strategy and quiet power. The calm hum of mastery settles over you, blending awareness, reflection, and subtle influence. The night carries a gentle reassurance of competence and control. You walk through the corridors, noting movements, gestures, and minor deviations from routine. Each subtle correction, a whispered instruction or glance, shapes the household rhythm. Observation becomes influence, quietly asserting authority. Patterns solidify into a network of control, subtle yet effective. Even Charles benefits unconsciously from these interventions. Small victories ripple through the day, reinforcing confidence and awareness. Awareness transforms into quiet mastery. Each action, reflection, and correction forms part of an invisible rhythm, a soft assertion of intellect and strategy, filling your home with calm and steady order. By candlelight, you record observations, household patterns, and social strategies. Each word is deliberate, preserving intellect in a world designed to suppress it. Journaling becomes both sanctuary and assertion of subtle control. Patterns accumulate, forming a mental map of influence. Awareness persists even under constraint. Reflection reinforces mastery, patience, and quiet authority. Sleep approaches slowly, carrying calm, confidence, and subtle influence into dreams. Each recorded thought strengthens the unspoken power flowing through the household and social interactions, a quiet hum of deliberate mastery. Passing the mirror, you pause. Candlelight illuminates not only Mrs. Whitmore's form but also a mind alive, aware, and quietly powerful. Posture, gesture, and expression are deliberate. Even under strict societal expectation, subtle mastery persists. Reflection affirms identity. Intellect, observation, and quiet influence endure, operating invisibly through household routines and social interactions. The mirror whispers assurance. I am aware. I am present. I am capable. The night amplifies this calm, unseen power, a quiet source of comfort and grounding as sleep approaches. Morning arrives slowly, pale light spilling across the floor. You awaken with awareness, conscious of the day ahead, letters, household duties, and social interactions. Each observation, gesture, and small adjustment contributes to a rhythm of invisible influence. Patterns and timing are noted and incorporated into a mental map of subtle mastery. Awareness sharpens, each movement deliberate. Even within societal constraints, quiet power persists. Every adjustment and thoughtful intervention shapes the household and social rhythm, establishing a calm, steady influence that prepares you for another day of deliberate observation and subtle authority. The sun rises softly, spilling pale light across Whitmore Hall. You awaken slowly, noting the subtle sounds of the house. The maid arranging linens, the cook beginning breakfast, the footman shifting quietly. Each movement is observed with a calm awareness. Instructions are given gently, with a nod, a glance, or a soft word, shaping the household without overt authority. Even Charles, absorbed in correspondence, follows these patterns unconsciously. Awareness has become influence. Every minor adjustment reinforces order, quiet mastery, and subtle control. Morning routines, once burdensome, now feel like a deliberate dance of observation and strategic guidance. Breakfast moves in a deliberate rhythm. The cook presents each dish at the right time, the maid aligns silverware precisely, and the footman anticipates deliveries. You watch, making subtle corrections with a gentle word or glance. Charles comments on the coffee or bread, unaware that your quiet guidance shapes these small moments. Observation has become influence, subtle but effective. Each minor intervention reinforces calm authority. Even mundane tasks, pouring tea, arranging flowers, adjusting a chair, carry significance. Awareness transforms daily routine into an exercise of deliberate mastery, shaping the household quietly and efficiently. The morning stretches with tasks requiring care, checking linens, organizing letters, reviewing household accounts. Minor missteps are corrected with quiet guidance, a whispered instruction, or a subtle adjustment. Even the servants, moving through familiar routines, respond to your attentive presence. Observation becomes influence, subtle yet unmistakable. Patterns of behavior solidify into a rhythm of quiet authority. Awareness strengthens confidence, each small victory reinforcing a sense of calm mastery. Even Charles, immersed in letters and papers, unconsciously follows routines shaped by your deliberate guidance. Every task, however minor, becomes an opportunity to assert quiet influence. Afternoon arrives, carrying duties and social preparation. You review household schedules, noting inefficiencies, subtle mistakes, and opportunities for gentle correction. Instructions flow quietly, delivered through gestures, soft words, or glances. The house functions seamlessly under your attentive observation. Even Charles, absorbed in correspondence, follows routines unconsciously guided by your awareness. Observation transforms into influence, patience into authority, and awareness into subtle power. Small adjustments ripple through the household, reinforcing order and quiet mastery. Every action becomes part of a deliberate pattern, a silent orchestration of domestic life. Guests are expected for the evening. You prepare slowly, considering attire, conversation topics, and subtle gestures. Each smile, nod, and tilt of the head is calibrated to convey intelligence, charm, and perceptiveness. Observation sharpens, reading each guest's tone and manner. Even the arrangement of seating, books, and flowers is influenced subtly by your awareness. Conversations are carefully navigated, balance maintained between engagement and discretion. Subtle strategy emerges in small, deliberate actions. Each gesture, though unnoticed by others, reinforces quiet authority. Anticipation carries a gentle thrill, the awareness of influence and skill operating invisibly, shaping the social scene. Evening finds you in your private chamber. You write letters, reflecting on household patterns, social observations, and subtle strategies. Words are deliberate, preserving intellect and autonomy in a world that seeks compliance. Journaling becomes sanctuary, a quiet assertion of control and independence. Patterns accumulate, forming a mental map of influence. Observation, reflection, and strategy interweave to reinforce subtle authority. Awareness flows freely, even within constraints. Writing consolidates mastery, creating a sense of calm, quiet power. Sleep approaches gently, carrying satisfaction, reflection. You sit by the fire, candlelight dancing across the room. Reflections of the day pass through your mind. Minor corrections, strategic observations, and subtle social interventions. Patterns are recognized, routines solidify, and influence flows quietly through the household. Even Charles, immersed in his own concerns, benefits unconsciously from these gentle currents. Patience, observation, and subtle adjustment are tools of quiet authority. Constraints become frameworks for mastery, shaping action and thought. Calm satisfaction hums through the night, reinforcing awareness, reflection, and the steady rhythm of subtle influence that governs Whitmore Hall. You walk through the house, noting movement, timing, and subtle deviations from expected routines. Minor missteps are corrected discreetly, shaping flow and order. Observation becomes influence, quiet and effective. Patterns solidify into a network of control, subtle yet unmistakable. Even Charles benefits unconsciously from these adjustments. Each action reinforces confidence, competence, and calm mastery. Awareness has become subtle power. Small victories ripple through the day, invisible yet transformative, establishing a steady rhythm of deliberate observation and careful guidance that permeates every aspect of the household. By candlelight, you record observations, minor victories, and household strategies. Words are deliberate, preserving intellect and autonomy in a world that constrains freedom. Journaling becomes sanctuary, an assertion of quiet control. Patterns and routines are consolidated, forming a mental map of subtle influence. Awareness persists, even under societal restriction. Reflection reinforces mastery, patience, and quiet authority. The gentle hum of satisfaction prepares body and mind for sleep. Subtle power, cultivated through observation, careful planning, and deliberate action, settles into the night, carrying calm mastery into dreams. Passing the mirror, you pause to study your reflection. Layers of clothing frame a poised figure, but it is the mind behind the eyes that is fully awake. Posture, expression, and gesture are deliberate, each movement intentional. Even under strict societal expectation, subtle mastery persists. Reflection affirms identity. Intellect, observation, and quiet influence endure, operating invisibly through household routines and social interactions. The mirror whispers calm assurance. I am aware. I am present. I am capable. The night amplifies this quiet power, grounding you and carrying a gentle sense of authority into restful sleep. The sun rises gently, spilling light across Whitmore Hall. You awaken slowly, noticing the subtle sounds. The footman adjusting curtains, the cook arranging breakfast, and the maid quietly preparing linens. Every movement is observed carefully. Instructions are given with gentle precision, nudging the household into smooth coordination. Even Charles, absorbed in correspondence, unconsciously follows patterns shaped by your awareness. Observation has transformed into influence. Morning routines, once chaotic and unfamiliar, now hum with deliberate order. Each small adjustment reinforces calm mastery, subtly asserting your presence throughout the household. Breakfast unfolds with quiet rhythm. Dishes arrive at precise intervals, silverware aligns neatly, and the servants move with subtle, almost invisible guidance. You watch, occasionally offering a soft instruction or nod, shaping the flow without overt authority. Charles remarks on the coffee or toast, unaware of the orchestration behind it. Observation becomes influence, subtle yet effective. Every minor adjustment, from folding napkins to positioning chairs, is a quiet exercise in mastery. The morning meal becomes a meditation in control, awareness, and patience, each gesture reinforcing your invisible authority. Tasks accumulate, checking linens, reviewing household accounts, organizing letters. Minor mistakes are corrected discreetly, gestures and whispers shaping smooth operation. Even the servants, moving through routines, respond without realizing your subtle guidance. Observation transforms into influence. Patterns solidify into a rhythm of quiet authority. Awareness strengthens confidence, each small success reinforcing calm mastery. Charles, unaware, continues his work while your invisible hand shapes the day's order. Every action, no matter how minor, becomes an opportunity to assert subtle, deliberate influence, reinforcing both competence and confidence. Afternoon stretches, filled with strategic observation and reflection. You note the smallest details. The cook's pacing, the maid's hesitations, the subtle gestures of Charles and visiting guests. Each small correction is gentle yet effective, shaping the household's rhythm. Awareness becomes influence. Patience is a tool of authority. Even mundane domestic tasks carry significance, revealing patterns and opportunities for subtle mastery. You sit quietly, taking stock of the day, letting observations form a private mental map of influence. Each reflection reinforces calm control, awareness, and subtle power flowing invisibly through Whitmore Hall. Visitors are expected, and anticipation hums quietly through the air. You prepare methodically, selecting books, arranging seating, and choosing conversation topics. Each smile, nod, and gesture is deliberate, balancing charm, intelligence, and discretion. Observing guests' mannerisms, you read intentions and preferences. Even the smallest adjustments, flower placement, book alignment, reflect subtle strategy. Conversation is navigated with careful awareness, balancing engagement and social propriety. Each gesture, unnoticed by others, reinforces invisible authority. Anticipation carries a gentle thrill, the quiet recognition of influence operating unseen but undeniably present. Evening draws you to your chamber. Letters are written slowly, each word deliberate, reflecting household patterns, social observations, and subtle strategies. Journaling preserves intellect and autonomy in a constrained world. Patterns accumulate, forming a mental map of influence. Awareness flows freely despite societal limitations. Reflection reinforces subtle authority, patience, and mastery. Writing becomes a ritual, a sanctuary, consolidating control over both household and self. Sleep approaches gently, carrying calm satisfaction and the gentle hum of invisible influence into rest, weaving awareness and subtle power into dreams. By the fire, candlelight dances across books and journals. You reflect on the day's subtle achievements, minor corrections, strategic observations, and social navigation. Patterns clarify, routines gain precision, and influence flows quietly through the household. Even Charles, immersed in work, benefits unconsciously from your guidance. Patience, observation, and careful intervention are tools of quiet authority. Constraints serve as frameworks for subtle mastery. The night hums softly with satisfaction, reinforcing awareness, reflection, and steady influence that shapes the rhythm of Whitmore Hall. You walk through corridors, noting gestures, timing, and deviations from expected routines. Minor errors are corrected discreetly. Subtle guidance shapes the flow. Observation becomes influence, quiet but effective. Patterns solidify into a network of calm authority. Even Charles, unaware, follows routines influenced by your awareness. Small victories ripple through the day, reinforcing confidence and mastery. Each reflection, adjustment, and observation strengthens invisible power, shaping both household and social rhythm. Awareness has become a tool of subtle authority, reinforcing control, competence, and calm order. By candlelight, you record observations, household patterns, and social strategies. Each word is deliberate, preserving intellect and autonomy in a world designed for compliance. Journaling becomes sanctuary and subtle assertion of control. Patterns consolidate, forming a mental map of influence. Awareness persists under societal constraints. Reflection reinforces patience, mastery, and quiet authority. Sleep approaches gently, carrying satisfaction, calm, and subtle power into dreams. Subtle influence, cultivated through observation, deliberate action, and careful thought, hums quietly through Whitmore Hall. Passing the mirror, you pause, studying your reflection. Candlelight illuminates not only Mrs. Whitmore's form but a mind alive, aware, and quietly powerful. Posture, expression, and gesture are deliberate, each movement intentional. Even within strict societal rules, subtle mastery persists. Reflection affirms identity. Intellect, observation, and quiet influence endure, operating invisibly through household routines and social interactions. The mirror whispers calm assurance. I am aware. I am present. I am capable. Night amplifies this quiet authority, grounding you and carrying gentle, steady influence into restful sleep. The first pale light filters through the curtains, casting gentle shadows across Whitmore Hall. You awaken slowly, attuned to the quiet rhythms of the household, the maid arranging linens, the cook stirring porridge, and the footman moving with soft precision. Each gesture is observed, each minor misstep noted. Instructions are delivered with a soft word, a nod, or a gentle glance, guiding the household subtly. Even Charles, absorbed in letters, unconsciously follows the routines you have shaped. Awareness has become influence, and morning rituals now hum with deliberate calm. Each small action reinforces mastery and quiet authority, making the day feel organized and purposeful. Breakfast unfolds with deliberate rhythm. Dishes appear on time, silverware aligns neatly, and the servants move efficiently under subtle guidance. You observe every movement, correcting discreetly with gentle gestures. Charles remarks on the coffee or bread, unaware of the orchestration behind it. Observation has become influence. Even the smallest adjustments, a tilted napkin, a shifted chair, exert invisible control. The morning meal transforms into an exercise in subtle authority, awareness, and deliberate action. Each small victory reinforces calm mastery and a quiet, invisible power flowing through the household. The day's duties arrive, reviewing letters, checking household accounts, organizing linens. Minor errors are corrected discreetly, gestures and whispers shaping smooth operation. Servants move through routines, guided by your quiet attention. Observation becomes influence, turning minor actions into demonstrations of calm authority. Awareness sharpens, each subtle intervention reinforcing competence and confidence. Even Charles, absorbed in his work, benefits unconsciously from these unseen adjustments. The household hums with orderly rhythm, and mundane tasks become subtle exercises in mastery, patience, and strategic awareness. Afternoon brings preparation for the evening's guests. You review arrangements, seating, conversation topics, and flower placement. Each gesture is deliberate, conveying intelligence, charm, and attentiveness. Observation sharpens, reading the mood of staff and anticipating Charles's preferences. Even minor details, a book's alignment or a candle's tilt, reflect subtle strategy. Conversations are carefully planned, balancing engagement with discretion. Each action, invisible to most, reinforces quiet authority. The gentle thrill of influence hums softly, a reminder that subtle mastery can shape both household and social life without overt assertion. The first visitors arrive, their laughter and polite greetings filling the hall. You guide the evening with quiet attentiveness, offering smiles, arranging seating, and gently influencing conversation. Observing each guest's tone and manner, you adjust subtly, ensuring comfort while maintaining propriety. Even Charles, speaking with ease, is subtly guided by your awareness of social rhythm. Every nod, glance, and tilt of the head conveys attentiveness and understated authority. Each gesture strengthens invisible influence, shaping interactions delicately. The evening flows with quiet precision, every small adjustment reinforcing calm mastery. Throughout the evening, you read the room with quiet focus. Each laugh, whispered comment, and subtle movement is noted. Gentle guidance, through conversation, seating, or small gestures, keeps interactions balanced. Guests remain unaware of the careful orchestration behind their comfort. Observation and subtle influence interweave seamlessly. Even minor corrections, a raised teacup, a repositioned chair, enhance the evening's harmony. Patience and strategic awareness allow you to maintain control without disrupting social grace. The household and social space flow in rhythm, shaped by subtle mastery that is felt rather than seen. After guests depart, you retreat to your chamber. The quiet is soothing, a moment to record observations, victories, and insights. Journaling preserves intellect and autonomy, consolidating subtle mastery over household and social strategy. Each word reinforces awareness and the invisible influence that has shaped the evening. Observation, reflection, and gentle adjustment form a mental map of control. Even under societal constraints, subtle authority persists. Writing becomes ritual, calming the mind, and reinforcing quiet power. Sleep approaches gently, carrying satisfaction, strategic awareness, and the hum of invisible influence into dreams. By candlelight, you review the day's events and plan the next. Each note consolidates patterns, minor victories, and subtle strategies. Awareness sharpens, creating a mental map of household rhythms and social preferences. Observation has become influence. Patience has become authority. Journaling provides sanctuary, a space to exercise intellect and preserve autonomy. Subtle mastery unfolds in the quiet, deliberate attention to detail. Sleep draws near, carrying calm, deliberate influence into the night. Each recorded reflection strengthens competence, confidence, and the quiet rhythm of household and social control. The fire flickers softly as you settle nearby. Candlelight dances across journals and letters, illuminating careful reflections. Patterns of influence, subtle guidance, and observation flow through your thoughts. Even Charles, engaged in his own tasks, follows routines subtly shaped by your attention. Patience, observation, and small interventions are tools of quiet authority. Constraints serve as frameworks for mastery. Satisfaction hums softly in the room, reinforcing awareness, strategic reflection, and steady influence that shapes the rhythm of Whitmore Hall. The night carries calm assurance into sleep. Passing the mirror, you pause to study your reflection. Candlelight illuminates a poised figure, but it is the mind behind the eyes that holds quiet power. Posture, expression, and gestures are deliberate. Even within strict societal rules, subtle mastery endures. Reflection affirms identity. Intellect, observation, and quiet influence operate invisibly through household routines and social interactions. The mirror whispers calm assurance. I am aware. I am present. I am capable. Night amplifies this quiet authority, grounding you, and carrying gentle, steady influence into restful, restorative sleep. The first light of day drifts through Whitmore Hall, illuminating the soft folds of curtains and the quiet movements of the household. You awaken slowly, attuned to the faint sounds, the maid arranging linens, the cook stirring porridge, the footman polishing silver. Each motion is observed with gentle awareness. Instructions are delivered subtly, with soft words or nods, guiding the house without overt authority. Even Charles, immersed in letters, moves through routines shaped unconsciously by your presence. Observation has become influence. Morning tasks unfold with a quiet, deliberate rhythm, and every small action reinforces calm mastery and subtle authority over the household. Breakfast is served in careful sequence. Dishes arrive on time, silverware aligns neatly, and the servants move with unobtrusive efficiency under your subtle guidance. You observe each gesture, making minor adjustments with a nod or quiet word. Charles comments on the coffee or toast, unaware of the orchestration behind his satisfaction. Observation has transformed into influence. Every minor adjustment, a folded napkin, a slightly tilted chair, reinforces invisible control. The morning meal becomes an exercise in calm mastery, awareness, and gentle authority, each gesture shaping the rhythm of the day. Mid-morning tasks unfold, reviewing accounts, checking letters, overseeing linens. Minor errors are corrected quietly, gestures and whispers guiding smooth operation. Servants move efficiently, responding to subtle cues you provide. Observation becomes influence, turning mundane tasks into subtle exercises of authority. Awareness strengthens confidence. Even Charles, immersed in correspondence, benefits unconsciously from these adjustments. Patterns solidify into a quiet rhythm of household mastery. Every small intervention, from adjusting a napkin to repositioning a flower, reinforces calm competence and the gentle flow of control throughout Whitmore Hall. Afternoon carries tasks and preparations for the evening. You plan seating arrangements, conversation topics, and flower placements. Each smile, nod, and gesture is deliberate, conveying intelligence and attentiveness. Observation sharpens, anticipating guests' moods and Charles's subtle preferences. Even minor details, a book's slightly askew or a candle's tilt, reflect careful strategy. Social interactions are navigated with calm precision. Each unseen action strengthens invisible authority, demonstrating subtle mastery. Awareness hums quietly, a gentle thrill of influence that moves imperceptibly through household and social spaces, creating seamless harmony. Visitors enter, filling the hall with polite laughter and murmured greetings. You guide the evening through quiet attentiveness, offering smiles, arranging seating, and subtly steering conversation. Observing each guest's tone, gesture, and expression, you adjust the evening's flow with gentle interventions. Even Charles, engaged in dialogue, is subtly guided by your awareness of social rhythm. Every glance, nod, and tilt of the head reinforces invisible influence. The evening progresses smoothly, each minor adjustment strengthening calm mastery. Subtle authority hums beneath polite conversation, shaping interactions without overt assertion. Throughout the evening, you navigate the room with gentle focus. Each whispered comment, laugh, or gesture is noted and adjusted with quiet subtlety. Guidance is invisible but effective, balancing comfort, propriety, and engagement. Minor interventions, a rearranged chair, a repositioned candle, a subtle conversational cue, enhance harmony. Observation and strategic awareness merge, shaping social interactions with calm precision. Guests remain unaware of the careful orchestration, yet the evening unfolds seamlessly. Patience, attentiveness, and quiet influence reinforce authority. The rhythm of the household and social space is maintained by invisible mastery, humming softly through each interaction. After the evening concludes, you retreat to your chamber. Journaling becomes sanctuary and consolidation of subtle mastery. Observations, minor victories, and strategic insights are recorded carefully. Awareness sharpens, creating a mental map of household and social patterns. Even within societal constraints, subtle authority persists. Reflection reinforces patience, confidence, and quiet influence. The evening successes, small, unnoticed adjustments, are catalogued, forming the foundation of strategic competence. Sleep approaches gently, carrying satisfaction, calm mastery, and invisible influence into rest. By candlelight, you record details of the day and plan the next. Each note consolidates subtle strategies, minor victories, and household patterns. Awareness is sharpened. Observation transforms into influence. Journaling preserves intellect, autonomy, and authority under societal constraints. Strategic thinking flows quietly through writing, each reflection reinforcing competence and confidence. Subtle mastery unfolds in deliberate, attentive observation. Sleep draws near, carrying calm, quiet power into dreams. Each recorded insight strengthens subtle influence, shaping the household, social interactions, and your presence with gentle assurance. The fire flickers softly as you settle nearby, candlelight reflecting off polished surfaces and journals. Patterns of influence, strategic guidance, and observation flow gently through your thoughts. Even Charles, engaged in his own tasks, moves through routines subtly shaped by your attention. Patience, observation, and gentle interventions form quiet authority. Constraints become frameworks for mastery, shaping both household and social rhythm. Satisfaction hums in the room, reinforcing awareness, reflection, and steady influence. The night carries calm assurance into sleep, each thought and observation reinforcing subtle control. Passing the mirror, you pause, studying your reflection. Candlelight illuminates the poised figure of Mrs. Whitmore, but it is the mind behind the eyes that radiates quiet power. Posture, expression, and gestures are deliberate. Subtle mastery endures even within strict societal constraints. Reflection affirms identity. Intellect, awareness, and invisible influence operate seamlessly through household routines and social interactions. The mirror whispers reassurance. I am aware. I am present. I am capable. Night amplifies this quiet authority, grounding you and carrying calm, deliberate influence into restorative sleep. The first light spills gently into Whitmore Hall. You awaken slowly, noticing the quiet sounds of the household. The maid arranging linens, the cook stirring porridge, and the footman moving with soft precision. Each movement is observed, catalogued, and subtly guided. Instructions are delivered with quiet words, gentle gestures, or slight nods, shaping the day without overt authority. Even Charles, absorbed in letters, moves unconsciously through routines shaped by your presence. Observation has become influence. Morning unfolds in a rhythm of calm control, each action reinforcing mastery and subtle authority. Breakfast proceeds with quiet precision. Plates arrive on schedule, silverware aligns neatly, and the staff moves smoothly under your unobtrusive guidance. You note every gesture, offering soft corrections or gentle instructions where necessary. Charles comments on the coffee, unaware of the orchestration behind his satisfaction. Observation has become influence. Even minor adjustments, a napkin folded just so, a chair shifted slightly, reinforce quiet authority. The morning meal becomes an exercise in subtle mastery, awareness, and deliberate calm, setting a gentle tone for the rest of the day. Mid-morning is devoted to reviewing household accounts, checking letters, and overseeing domestic arrangements. Minor errors are corrected quietly, gestures and whispers guiding smooth operation. Servants respond subtly to your attentiveness. Observation transforms into influence, turning routine tasks into exercises of authority and calm mastery. Even Charles, engaged in his own work, benefits unconsciously from your quiet adjustments. Patterns of household rhythm solidify under subtle guidance. Every minor intervention, from adjusting a chair to realigning table settings, reinforces competence and steady influence. Afternoon arrives with preparations for visiting guests. You arrange seating, select flowers, and consider conversation topics. Each gesture is deliberate, balancing charm, attentiveness, and subtle strategic influence. Observation sharpens, reading both Charles's preferences and the moods of guests. Even the smallest details, positioning of a book, tilt of a candle, reflect careful thought. Conversations are guided with precision, maintaining decorum and social balance. Awareness hums quietly, the subtle thrill of invisible authority running through the household and social spaces, ensuring a seamless, harmonious flow. Guests arrive, their laughter and polite greetings filling the hall. You guide the evening with quiet attentiveness, offering smiles, arranging seating, and steering conversation with gentle gestures. Observing each guest's tone, movement, and expression, you adjust subtly to maintain comfort and propriety. Charles engages with conversation naturally, yet the rhythm is shaped by your awareness. Every glance, tilt, and nod communicates subtle control. The evening progresses smoothly, each minor adjustment reinforcing calm mastery. Invisible influence hums through polite conversation, shaping interactions without overt assertion. Throughout the evening, you navigate social interactions with gentle focus. Each whispered comment, laugh, or gesture is observed and adjusted with quiet precision. Subtle interventions, repositioning chairs, adjusting candles, guiding conversation, enhance harmony. Observation and strategic awareness merge, maintaining balance and propriety. Guests are unaware of the orchestration, yet the evening unfolds seamlessly. Patience, attentiveness, and quiet influence reinforce authority, shaping both household and social rhythm. The room hums with calm mastery, every subtle action contributing to invisible control. After the evening concludes, you retreat to your chamber. Journaling becomes a space for consolidation and reflection. Observations, minor victories, and strategic insights are recorded with care. Awareness sharpens, forming a mental map of household and social patterns. Even within strict societal constraints, subtle authority persists. Reflection reinforces patience, competence, and quiet influence. Small, unnoticed adjustments throughout the evening now form the foundation of strategic mastery. Sleep approaches gently, carrying satisfaction, calm, and invisible control into dreams. By candlelight, you record the day's details and plan the next. Each note consolidates patterns, small victories, and subtle strategies. Awareness sharpens. Observation becomes influence. Journaling preserves intellect and autonomy within societal constraints. Strategic thinking flows quietly, reinforcing competence and quiet authority. Subtle mastery unfolds through deliberate attention and careful reflection. Sleep draws near, carrying calm, steady influence into rest. Each recorded insight strengthens your subtle control, shaping the household, social interactions, and presence with gentle assurance. The fire flickers as you settle nearby. Candlelight reflects on journals, letters, and polished surfaces. Patterns of influence, strategic guidance, and observation flow gently through your thoughts. Even Charles, immersed in his work, follows routines subtly shaped by your attention. Patience, observation, and quiet interventions become tools of authority. Constraints serve as frameworks for subtle mastery. Satisfaction hums softly, reinforcing awareness, reflection, and steady influence. Night carries calm assurance into sleep, each observation and action reinforcing subtle control through gentle, deliberate attention. Passing the mirror, you pause, studying your reflection. Candlelight illuminates Mrs. Whitmore, but it is the mind behind her eyes that radiates quiet power. Posture, expression, and gestures are deliberate. Subtle mastery endures, even within strict societal rules. Reflection affirms identity. Intellect, awareness, and invisible influence flow through household routines and social interactions. The mirror whispers reassurance. I am aware. I am present. I am capable. Night amplifies quiet authority, grounding you, and carrying calm, deliberate influence into deep, restorative sleep. Dawn breaks gently over Whitmore Hall. You awaken slowly, listening to the quiet rhythms of the household. The maid arranging linens, the cook stirring porridge, the footman polishing silver. Each movement is catalogued and subtly guided with a quiet word, a slight nod, or a gentle gesture. Even Charles, absorbed in correspondence, follows routines shaped unconsciously by your presence. Observation has become influence. Morning unfolds in a gentle rhythm of calm authority, each minor action reinforcing mastery and subtle control over household flow. Breakfast proceeds with deliberate order. Plates arrive punctually, silverware aligns neatly, and the staff moves smoothly under your subtle guidance. You note every gesture, offering corrections with soft words or quiet cues. Charles remarks on coffee or toast, unaware of the orchestration behind his satisfaction. Observation has become influence. Minor adjustments, a napkin folded just so, a chair slightly repositioned, reinforce invisible authority. The morning meal becomes a quiet exercise in subtle mastery, awareness, and gentle control, setting a harmonious tone for the day. Mid-morning brings household oversight, reviewing accounts, checking letters, and observing domestic arrangements. Minor errors are corrected discreetly, and gestures or whispered directions maintain smooth operation. Servants respond to subtle guidance. Observation transforms into influence, turning routine tasks into exercises of quiet authority. Even Charles benefits unconsciously from your adjustments. Patterns of household rhythm solidify under subtle direction. Every minor intervention, from adjusting a napkin to shifting a candle, reinforces competence and invisible control, shaping the day with calm precision. Afternoon is dedicated to preparing for guests. You consider seating arrangements, conversation topics, and flower placement. Every gesture, glance, and nod is deliberate, balancing charm, attentiveness, and subtle strategy. Observation sharpens, anticipating moods of both Charles and visitors. Even minor details, a book slightly askew, a candle tilted, reflect careful orchestration. Conversations flow with quiet guidance. Awareness hums gently, the thrill of invisible influence threading through household and social interactions, ensuring harmony and decorum. Visitors enter, their laughter and greetings filling the hall. You guide the evening through quiet attentiveness, offering smiles, arranging seating, and steering conversation with subtle gestures. Observing each guest's tone, expression, and movement, you adjust delicately to maintain comfort and propriety. Charles engages naturally, yet the rhythm of the room is shaped by your awareness. Every glance, nod, and tilt communicates subtle control. The evening progresses smoothly, each minor adjustment reinforcing calm mastery and invisible authority, shaping interactions without overt assertion. Throughout the evening, you navigate interactions with gentle focus. Each whispered comment, laugh, or gesture is observed and adjusted with subtle precision. Minor interventions, repositioning a chair, adjusting candlelight, guiding conversation, enhance harmony. Observation and strategic awareness merge, maintaining balance and decorum. Guests are unaware of the orchestration, yet the evening unfolds seamlessly. Patience, attentiveness, and quiet influence reinforce authority. The room hums with calm mastery, every subtle action contributing to invisible control and a sense of serene order. After guests depart, you retreat to your chamber. Journaling preserves observations, small victories, and strategic insights. Awareness sharpens, forming a mental map of household and social patterns. Subtle authority persists even within societal constraints. Reflection reinforces patience, competence, and quiet influence. The evening's unseen adjustments now create a foundation for deeper mastery. Sleep approaches slowly, carrying satisfaction, calm, and invisible power into dreams. By candlelight, you plan the next day, consolidating strategies, patterns, and minor victories. Observation becomes influence. Each reflection strengthens competence. Journaling preserves autonomy, intellect, and subtle authority. Strategic thinking flows quietly, reinforcing calm mastery. Subtle influence extends through household and social spaces, unseen yet effective. Sleep draws near, carrying deliberate, gentle control into rest. Each note, reflection, and observation strengthens quiet guidance, shaping interactions and routines with serene precision. The fire flickers as you settle nearby. Candlelight reflects off journals, letters, and polished surfaces. Patterns of influence, strategic guidance, and observation flow gently through your thoughts. Even Charles, immersed in work, follows routines shaped by your subtle guidance. Patience, observation, and minor interventions form quiet authority. Constraints become frameworks for subtle mastery, shaping household rhythm. Satisfaction hums softly, reinforcing awareness, reflection, and steady influence. The night carries calm assurance into sleep, reinforcing invisible control with gentle assurance. Passing the mirror, you pause, studying your reflection. Candlelight illuminates the poised figure of Mrs. Whitmore, but it is the mind behind her eyes that radiates quiet power. Posture, expression, and gestures are deliberate. Even within strict societal rules, subtle mastery endures. Reflection affirms identity. Intellect, awareness, and invisible influence flow through household routines and social interactions. The mirror whispers reassurance. I am aware. I am present. I am capable. Night amplifies quiet authority, grounding you and carrying calm, deliberate influence into restorative sleep. Sunlight filters gently through Whitmore Hall's curtains. You awaken slowly, listening to the subtle stirrings of the household. The maid arranging linens, the cook stirring porridge, and the footman polishing silver. Each movement is noted and subtly guided with a quiet nod or whispered instruction. Even Charles, absorbed in correspondence, moves through routines shaped unconsciously by your presence. Observation has become influence. Morning unfolds in a calm rhythm of subtle authority, each minor action reinforcing mastery over household flow and unseen control. Breakfast proceeds in gentle order. Plates are delivered on time, silverware aligns neatly, and the staff moves smoothly under your subtle guidance. Every gesture is observed, with minor corrections delivered quietly. Charles comments on the toast or coffee, unaware of the careful orchestration behind his satisfaction. Observation has become influence. Even slight adjustments, a napkin folded precisely, a chair slightly repositioned, reinforce invisible authority. The meal unfolds as a quiet exercise in subtle mastery, awareness, and gentle control, setting the day's rhythm. Mid-morning brings oversight, reviewing accounts, checking letters, and observing domestic operations. Minor mistakes are corrected quietly, gestures and whispers guiding smooth flow. Servants respond to subtle cues, and even Charles benefits unconsciously from your influence. Observation has transformed into subtle authority, turning ordinary tasks into exercises of calm mastery. Every minor intervention, from realigning a candlestick to adjusting flower arrangements, reinforces competence, control, and gentle authority that moves silently through the household. Afternoon is dedicated to arranging the drawing room for visitors. Seating is considered, flowers positioned carefully, and conversation topics anticipated. Every gesture, glance, and nod is deliberate, balancing charm, attentiveness, and subtle strategy. Observation sharpens, reading both Charles's moods and the unspoken intentions of visiting families. Even small details, a book slightly askew, candlelight adjusted, reflect careful orchestration. Social interactions flow under subtle guidance, ensuring harmony and propriety while invisible influence hums quietly through the room. Visitors arrive, filling the hall with polite greetings and restrained laughter. You guide the evening with quiet attentiveness, offering smiles, adjusting seating, and steering conversation with subtle gestures. Observing each guest's expression, tone, and movements, you respond with gentle precision to maintain comfort and propriety. Charles engages naturally, yet the evening's rhythm remains shaped by your awareness. Every glance, nod, and tilt communicates subtle control. The evening progresses smoothly, each minor adjustment reinforcing calm mastery and invisible influence, shaping interactions without overt assertion. Throughout the evening, interactions are navigated with gentle attention. Whispered comments, smiles, and gestures are observed and subtly adjusted. Minor interventions, repositioning chairs, adjusting candlelight, guiding conversation, maintain harmony and balance. Observation and strategic awareness merge, forming a quiet network of influence. Guests are unaware of orchestration, yet the evening unfolds seamlessly. Patience, attentiveness, and quiet influence reinforce authority. The room hums with calm mastery, each subtle action contributing to invisible control and a serene, measured flow of interaction. After guests depart, you retreat to your chamber. Journaling preserves observations, minor victories, and strategic insights. Awareness sharpens, forming a mental map of household and social patterns. Even within strict societal constraints, subtle authority persists. Reflection reinforces patience, competence, and quiet influence. The evening's unseen adjustments solidify your mastery. Sleep approaches gently, carrying calm, satisfaction, and invisible power into dreams, where observation, subtle authority, and strategy continue their quiet work. By candlelight, you plan the following day, consolidating strategies, patterns, and minor successes. Observation becomes influence. Each note strengthens competence and subtle authority. Journaling preserves intellect, autonomy, and strategic insight. Quiet mastery unfolds through deliberate attention, each reflection reinforcing control. Subtle influence extends throughout household and social interactions, unseen but effective. Sleep draws near, carrying calm, deliberate authority into rest, each reflection shaping future interactions with serene precision. The fire flickers softly as you settle nearby, candlelight reflecting off polished surfaces and journals. Patterns of influence, strategic thought, and observation flow gently through your mind. Even Charles, immersed in his own work, moves unconsciously through routines shaped by your guidance. Patience, careful observation, and minor interventions create quiet authority. Constraints form a framework for subtle mastery. Satisfaction hums softly, reinforcing awareness, reflection, and gentle influence. Night carries calm assurance into sleep, sustaining invisible control with soft, steady presence. Passing the mirror, you pause to study your reflection. Candlelight illuminates the poised figure of Mrs. Whitmore, yet it is the mind behind her eyes that radiates quiet power. Posture, expression, and gestures are deliberate, each chosen with intention. Subtle mastery endures even within societal limits. Reflection reassures. Intellect, awareness, and invisible influence flow seamlessly through household routines and social interactions. The mirror whispers quietly, "I am aware. I am present. I am capable." Night amplifies calm authority, grounding you and carrying deliberate, gentle influence into restorative sleep. Sunlight spills through Whitmore Hall's curtains, illuminating the polished surfaces of the drawing room. You awaken slowly, aware of the household's quiet stirrings, the maid arranging linens, the cook stirring porridge, the footman polishing silver. Each movement is catalogued, subtle adjustments made with gentle gestures or whispered directions. Even Charles, engrossed in correspondence, moves through routines shaped unconsciously by your presence. Observation has become influence. Morning unfolds in calm rhythm, each minor action reinforcing subtle authority and quiet mastery of the home. Breakfast proceeds with precise, gentle order. Plates arrive on time, silverware aligns neatly, and staff moves smoothly under subtle guidance. Each gesture is noted. Corrections are delivered softly, almost imperceptibly. Charles comments on toast or tea, unaware of the orchestration shaping his satisfaction. Even small adjustments, a napkin folded just so, a chair subtly repositioned, reinforce invisible authority. The meal becomes a quiet exercise in subtle mastery, awareness, and gentle control, establishing a steady, calm tone for the day. Mid-morning is dedicated to household oversight, reviewing accounts, checking letters, and observing domestic operations. Minor mistakes are corrected quietly, gestures and whispers guiding smooth functioning. Servants respond unconsciously to subtle cues. Observation has transformed into influence, turning routine tasks into exercises of calm authority. Even Charles benefits without realizing it. Every intervention, from realigning a candlestick to adjusting a flower arrangement, reinforces competence, control, and quiet mastery flowing silently through the household. Afternoon brings preparation for visitors. Seating arrangements are considered, flowers positioned carefully, conversation topics anticipated. Every gesture, glance, and nod is deliberate, balancing charm, attentiveness, and subtle strategy. Observation sharpens, reading both Charles's moods and unspoken intentions of visiting families. Even small details, a book slightly askew, candlelight adjusted, reflect careful orchestration. Social interactions flow under subtle guidance, ensuring harmony and propriety while invisible influence hums quietly through the drawing room. Guests arrive, filling the hall with restrained laughter and formal greetings. You guide the evening with quiet attentiveness, offering smiles, arranging seating, and steering conversation with subtle gestures. Observing each guest's expression, tone, and movement, you adjust delicately to maintain comfort and propriety. Charles engages naturally, yet the rhythm of the room remains shaped by your awareness. Every glance, nod, and tilt communicates subtle control. The evening progresses seamlessly, each minor adjustment reinforcing calm mastery and invisible influence without overt assertion. Throughout the evening, interactions unfold under gentle attention. Whispered comments, smiles, and gestures are subtly observed and adjusted. Minor interventions, repositioning chairs, adjusting candlelight, guiding conversation, maintain harmony. Observation and strategic awareness merge, forming a quiet network of influence. Guests remain unaware of the orchestration, yet the evening proceeds flawlessly. Patience, attentiveness, and quiet influence reinforce authority. The room hums with calm mastery, each subtle action shaping interactions and household rhythm. After guests depart, you retreat to your chamber. Journaling preserves observations, minor victories, and strategic insights. Awareness sharpens, forming a mental map of household and social patterns. Even within strict societal limits, subtle authority persists. Reflection reinforces patience, competence, and quiet influence. The evening's unseen adjustments consolidate mastery. Sleep approaches gently, carrying calm, satisfaction, and invisible power into dreams, where observation and subtle authority continue to weave silently through the household. By candlelight, you plan the following day, consolidating strategies, patterns, and subtle victories. Observation transforms into influence. Each note strengthens competence and quiet authority. Journaling preserves intellect, autonomy, and strategic insight. Subtle mastery unfolds through deliberate attention, each reflection reinforcing calm control. Invisible influence extends across household routines and social interactions, shaping the day to come. Sleep draws near, carrying deliberate, gentle authority into rest, ensuring that each insight and action flows seamlessly into tomorrow. The fire flickers as you settle nearby. Candlelight reflects off journals, letters, and polished surfaces. Patterns of influence, strategic thought, and observation flow gently through your mind. Even Charles, immersed in work, moves unconsciously through routines subtly shaped by your guidance. Patience, careful observation, and minor interventions form quiet authority. Constraints are reframed as frameworks for subtle mastery. Satisfaction hums softly, reinforcing awareness, reflection, and quiet influence. Night carries calm assurance into sleep, sustaining invisible control with soft, steady presence. Passing the mirror, you pause to study your reflection. Candlelight illuminates the poised figure of Mrs. Whitmore, yet the mind behind her eyes radiates quiet power. Posture, expression, and gestures are deliberate, each chosen with intention. Subtle mastery endures even within societal limits. Reflection reassures. Intellect, awareness, and invisible influence flow seamlessly through household routines and social interactions. The mirror whispers quietly, "I am aware. I am present. I am capable." Night amplifies calm authority, grounding you and carrying deliberate, gentle influence into deep, restorative sleep. The day closes gently over Whitmore Hall. Candlelight dances softly across polished surfaces, casting long, quiet shadows that stretch across the floorboards. You sit in your chair by the fire, hands folded in your lap, feeling the weight of the day settle into the quiet rhythm of the night. Charles, now asleep, breathes evenly behind the closed door, unaware of the intricate balance of observation, subtle influence, and careful orchestration that shaped every moment of the day. You breathe slowly, letting the warmth of the fire seep into your shoulders, the calm of the room into your mind. Each gesture you made, each decision you guided, each careful observation woven into the fabric of the household, comes together now as a gentle, invisible authority. In this quiet moment, you feel the subtle triumph of competence, the steady assurance that even within the confines of society's rules, you have shaped your own space, maintained your presence, and asserted your influence in ways that others never see. The mirror in the corner catches your reflection, dim in the flickering light. Mrs. Whitmore looks composed, elegant, serene. But in your eyes, you recognize something deeper. Awareness, resilience, quiet power. Every small act of guidance, every subtle correction, every deliberate movement has reinforced your mastery over the household and the careful navigation of social expectations. As the fire dies down to soft embers and the world outside whispers with a gentle sigh of night wind, you allow your body to sink fully into comfort. Muscles release tension, shoulders soften, breath deepens. The day's work and its subtle victories fade into the rhythm of night. Here, in this stillness, you are both observer and orchestrator, capable and calm. Sleep comes gently, carrying with it the knowledge that tomorrow, as every day, you will continue the quiet dance of influence, patience, and presence. The world beyond Whitmore Hall may impose its rules, but inside, your mind is free, strong, and quietly victorious. And with that thought, the candle flickers one last time before darkness envelopes the room, and the gentle night carries you into rest.